Hello everyone and welcome. This is Harry What If speaking. We have handpicked a wonderful story for today. What if Harry got a harem of 7 queens after becoming Lord of 7 ancient houses? New videos drop regularly, so subscribe and hit the bell to stay updated. And don't forget to like if you enjoy the story. Shall we begin? Here goes. Chapter 1, Inheritance. Harry Potter stared at the stack of parchments on the goblin's desk, his mind struggling to process what he'd just heard. "Run that by me again," he asked, voice cracking slightly. Griphook's thin lips curled into what passed for a goblin smile. "As I said, Mr. Potter, following your defeat of the Dark Lord, several inheritance clauses have activated. Due to a combination of blood right, magical conquest, and name succession, you now stand as the rightful lord of 7 ancient and noble houses." Harry ran a hand through his perpetually messy hair. 3 weeks after the Battle of Hogwarts, he just wanted to check his vault balance before meeting Ron and Hermione for lunch. Now this? 7 houses? That's not possible. I assure you it is. Griphook tapped the parchments with one long finger. Potter, Black, Peveril, and Gryffindor by blood and inheritance. Slytherin by conquest. Ravenclaw through magical recognition. And Hufflepuff through named succession in Helga's will, triggered by your actions during the battle. That's mental, Harry muttered, slumping back in his chair. Completely mental. Perhaps, but it is the reality. Griphook pushed the topmost folder forward. The magic has recognized you. The vaults have opened. The seats on the Wizengamot await your claim. Harry flipped open the folder, eyes scanning the documents within. Property listings. Financial statements. Political alliances. Family histories. His head started swimming. "There's something else you should know," Griphook continued, looking almost gleeful now. "Each of these houses requires both a lord and a lady to fully access their magical potential. The ancient houses were founded on principles of balance. One cannot rule alone." Harry's head snapped up. "Wait, you're saying I need to get married? 7 times? Not necessarily married in the modern sense," Griphook clarified. "But you must establish magical partnerships with witches who complement each house's magical signature. The ancient term was, Queens of the Houses. Without them, you'll access perhaps 20% of each house's true power and influence." Harry groaned, dropping his face into his hands. "Fantastic. Just fantastic. If I may suggest," Griphook said, sliding another document across the desk, "this information should remain confidential until you've secured your position. There are elements in wizarding society who would contest your claims or attempt to manipulate the situation." Harry peeked through his fingers at the confidentiality agreement. "More secrets. Exactly what I needed. Sign this, and we'll move to the inheritance ritual chamber. You must formally accept each lordship to secure your claims." Harry hesitated, quill hovering over parchment. "What happens if I don't sign? If I walk away?" Griphook's expression hardened. "The magic will continue seeking you out, Mr. Potter. These houses have chosen you. Refuse them, and the magical backlash could be unpredictable. More importantly, the houses would eventually seek alternative heirs, likely those with far less noble intentions than yourself." With a resigned sigh, Harry signed his name. The inheritance ritual chamber deep beneath Gringotts pulsed with ancient magic that made Harry's skin tingle. 7 pedestals formed a circle in the center of the room, each bearing a ring that seemed to glow with its own inner light. "Approach each pedestal in turn," instructed the elderly goblin ritualist. "Place your hand over the ring and state your acceptance." Harry stepped toward the first pedestal, which bore a gold ring with a ruby crest, the Potter family ring. His hand trembled slightly as he held it over the ring. "I, Harry James Potter, accept the lordship of the most noble house of Potter." Magic surged through him, warm and familiar, like returning home. The ring vanished from the pedestal and appeared on his right ring finger. One by one, he approached each pedestal. The black ring, obsidian with silver runes. The peveril ring, ancient and simple with its distinctive triangular symbol. The Slytherin ring, emerald and silver. The Gryffindor ring, bold gold with a roaring lion. The Ravenclaw ring, sapphire and bronze. The Hufflepuff ring, warm amber and black. With each acceptance, magic flooded his system, each house with its distinct magical signature, some warm, others cold and calculating, some wild, others methodical. The rings appeared on his fingers before melding into a single master ring that shifted appearance depending on which house he focused upon. By the time he finished, Harry could barely stand. His magical core felt stretched and strained, power thrumming beneath his skin seeking balance. The ritual is complete, the goblin ritualist announced. You are now Lord Potter Black Peveril Slytherin Gryffindor Ravenclaw Hufflepuff. May magic favor your reign. Harry steadied himself against a pedestal. Just Lord Potter is fine, thanks. Griphook approached with a thick portfolio. These are your house grimoires, property deeds, and political proxies. I suggest reviewing them immediately. News of this will spread quickly, despite our confidentiality measures. How quickly? Harry asked, taking the portfolio. The Ministry's Magical Inheritance Department will register the change by morning, Griphook replied. I'd estimate you have 12 hours before the political vultures begin circling. Harry nodded grimly. Then I better get to work. Harry stumbled out of Gringotts into the late afternoon sunlight of Diagon Alley, his expanded moleskin pouch now containing more information than he could possibly process alone. His head throbbed with the residual magic of the ritual, and he could feel the 7 different magical signatures swirling within him, seeking balance. He needed help. And he needed it before the Ministry caught wind of this. Pulling his hood up, Harry ducked into the crowd, heading for the leaky cauldron's floor. He'd missed lunch with Ron and Hermione hours ago, but this couldn't wait. As he walked, he felt eyes on him, not the usual celebrity gawking, but something more. The magic of the houses had changed his aura, making him more noticeable to those sensitive to such things. Near Flourish and Blots, he nearly collided with a blonde witch exiting the shop. Sorry, I wasn't, he began, then froze as he recognized her. Daphne Greengrass? The former Slytherin's eyes widened slightly before her features schooled back to neutrality. Potter. Her gaze dropped to his hand where the master ring gleamed, then back to his face with newfound intensity. So the rumors are true. Harry tensed. What rumors? Gringotts went into security lockdown for 3 hours. The magical ambient in Diagon Alley shifted dramatically around noon. She stepped closer, voice dropping. And now you're walking around with enough magical residue to power half of London. Harry glanced around nervously. Look, this isn't the place. No, it's not, she agreed sharply. You need somewhere secure to process whatever just happened to you. She pressed a small card into his hand. Greengrass Manor, 8 o'clock. The Floo will recognize you. Why would I? Because, she cut him off, my family has specialized in house magic and inheritance law for 12 generations. And because whatever's happening to you right now is going to attract attention you're not prepared to handle. Harry studied her face, searching for deception. Finding none, he pocketed the card. I'll think about it. Daphne nodded once. Don't take too long. The Ministry works fast when power shifts. With that, she continued past him, leaving Harry wondering if he'd just been manipulated or offered genuine help. Either way, he needed to talk to Hermione first. 7 houses. Hermione paced Harry's kitchen at Grimmauld Place, her expression cycling between academic fascination and utter disbelief. That's unprecedented, Harry. Even Merlin himself only held 3 lordships. Tell me about it, Harry muttered, sorting through the mountain of documents spread across the table. And apparently I need to find 7 witches to be the queens of these houses or I can't access their full power. Ron, who'd been uncharacteristically quiet since Harry's explanation, finally spoke up. "Mate, you realize what this means politically, right? You'll control 7 Wizengamot votes. Nobody's held that much direct political power in centuries." Harry looked up in surprise. "Since when do you know about Wizengamot politics?" Ron shrugged. "Grew up hearing Dad complain about it. The old families control everything. With 7 votes, you could basically rewrite magical law. Which is precisely why this information must be handled carefully," came a new voice from the doorway. All 3 spun around, wands instantly drawn. Daphne Greengrass stood in the entrance to the kitchen, looking entirely unfazed by the 3 wands pointed at her. "How did you get in here?" Harry demanded. "Black family wards recognize black family magic," she replied calmly. "As Lord Black, you've unconsciously adjusted the wards to align with your magic. My grandmother was a black, giving me enough blood connection for the wards to permit entry." She raised an eyebrow. "You should fix that loophole immediately." "Bloody hell," Ron muttered. Hermione lowered her wand slightly. "What do you want, Greengrass?" "To help, surprisingly enough." Daphne moved into the room, eyeing the documents on the table. "Potter now holds titles that affect my family's interests and the future of magical Britain. I'd prefer those titles be held by someone who actually knows what they're doing." Harry snorted. "So altruistic of you." "Hardly." Daphne picked up one of the documents, a Slytherin property deed. "But self-interest and mutual benefit often align. You need someone who understands house politics. I need to ensure the new political landscape doesn't disadvantage my family." Hermione crossed her arms. "And what makes you think we'd trust you?" "Because I'm already here, discussing this openly instead of manipulating from the shadows like most would." Daphne met Hermione's gaze directly. "And because I swore a magical oath not to betray Potter's interests before I walked through that door." That caught Harry's attention. "You what?" "Check your family grimoire. The black book should have registered it." Daphne nodded toward the stack of ancient tomes. Harry reached for the black grimoire, a leather-bound book that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Opening to the last written page, he found fresh script. "Daphne Aurora Greengrass has sworn oath of non-betrayal and consultation to Lord Black this 22nd day of May, 1998. Magic has witnessed." "Merlin's pants," Ron whispered, reading over Harry's shoulder. "That's a serious oath," Hermione acknowledged, her posture relaxing slightly. "Indeed." Daphne pulled out a chair and sat down without invitation. "Now, we have approximately 10 hours before the Ministry Inheritance Office opens. By then, you need to understand your basic rights, have preliminary control of your votes, and secure at least your primary properties." She glanced at the scattered documents. "I see Gringotts gave you the standard chaos package." Despite himself, Harry laughed. "That's one way of putting it." Hermione gave Harry a questioning look. He nodded slightly. "Fine," Hermione said, taking a seat across from Daphne. "But we do this together, and Harry makes all final decisions." "Agreed." Daphne pulled a shrunken briefcase from her pocket, enlarged it, and withdrew several folders. "Let's start with the Wizengamot proxies. You'll need those filed before midnight." For the next several hours, the 4 of them worked through the mountain of documents. Daphne's knowledge of wizarding politics and house traditions proved invaluable, while Hermione's analytical mind helped organize the overwhelming information. Even Ron contributed, having absorbed more pure-blood traditions than he usually admitted. Harry found himself watching Daphne carefully. The Ice Queen of Slytherin had never spoken more than 10 words to him at Hogwarts, yet here she was, helping him navigate his new status with remarkable efficiency. More interestingly, he noticed how the Slytherin ring on his hand warmed whenever she spoke about that house's traditions. The magic recognizes her, he realized. The house magic itself was responding to her presence. As midnight approached, they had compiled the essential documents and written the necessary letters to secure Harry's immediate legal standing. That should hold things until morning, Daphne said, stretching her neck. But tomorrow, you'll need to visit your primary properties and key vaults in person. The house magics need to recognize you in their domains. All 7 in one day? Harry asked incredulously. At minimum, visit Potter, Black, and one founder's property, she advised. The others can wait a few days. Hermione closed the book she'd been studying. There's something else we need to address. These queens, the goblin mentioned. Ah, yes, Daphne's expression shifted subtly. The consorts of the houses. Ancient magic built on partnership, not dominance. Each house requires both masculine and feminine energies to fully manifest its power. So Harry needs, what? 7 girlfriends? Ron looked both horrified and impressed. 7 magical partners, Daphne corrected. Women whose magic resonates with each house's specific magical signature. The relationship aspect traditionally follows the magical compatibility, not precedes it. Harry rubbed his temples. How am I supposed to find 7 witches with specific magical signatures? You don't find them. The house magics will recognize them, Daphne explained. Like your Slytherin ring has been warming in my presence for the past 4 hours. Harry's head snapped up. You felt that? Of course. I've studied Slytherin house magic since childhood. My family has served as advisors to Slytherin lords for generations. She met his gaze evenly. I believe I may be your Slytherin queen candidate. The room fell silent. Convenient, Hermione finally said, voice tight with suspicion. Daphne turned to her. There's a simple test. Potter, focus on your Slytherin house magic and offer your ring hand to me. Harry hesitated, then concentrated on the cool, calculating energy of Slytherin within him. The master ring shifted, emerald stone gleaming prominently as he extended his hand to Daphne. She placed her palm against his. Immediately, green light spiraled around their joined hands, and Harry felt the Slytherin magic surge, becoming clearer and more controlled than before. A small emerald ring materialized on Daphne's finger. Bloody hell, Ron whispered. Daphne withdrew her hand, examining the ring. The house has recognized me as a potential consort. Not binding yet, but confirmation of compatibility. Harry stared at her, suddenly seeing Daphne Greengrass in an entirely new light. Why didn't you tell me this was going to happen? Because magical compatibility can't be forced or manipulated, she replied simply. If the house magic hadn't recognized me, nothing would have happened. She stood, gathering her notes. I should go. You have much to consider, and tomorrow will be challenging. Wait, Harry said. How do I know this isn't some elaborate plan to gain control over the Slytherin house resources? Daphne smiled thinly. Because the consort ring would not have formed if my intentions were primarily self-serving. House magic is ancient and cannot be deceived. She paused at the doorway. Besides, if I wanted control, I wouldn't have helped you secure your other houses first. I'd have let the ministry undermine your claims while positioning myself solely for Slytherin. With that logic, she left them sitting in stunned silence. Well, Ron finally said, that was unexpected. Hermione was staring at the Ravenclaw grimoire, her expression thoughtful. Harry, may I see your master ring focused on Ravenclaw? Curious, Harry concentrated on the Ravenclaw house magic, scholarly, analytical, seeking wisdom. The ring shifted, sapphire stone coming to prominence. Hermione tentatively reached for his hand. When their fingers touched, blue light swirled around them, and a delicate sapphire ring appeared on Hermione's finger. I suspected as much, she said softly, examining the ring with wonder. Harry felt the Ravenclaw magic settle into a clearer pattern within him, more accessible and refined. You knew. I've been drawn to Ravenclaw texts since we started working on your inheritance, she explained. The book seemed to be, speaking to me, in a way. She looked up, eyes bright with excitement and uncertainty. It appears I might be your Ravenclaw queen. Ron looked between them, expression unreadable. So that's 2 down, 5 to go. Harry slumped back in his chair. Apparently. By morning, word had begun to spread. Harry stepped out of the flue into the ministry atrium with Hermione beside him, immediately noticing the hushed conversations and pointed stares. News travels fast, Hermione murmured, staying close. Potter. Lord Potter, came a shrill, unmistakable voice. Harry suppressed a groan as Rita Skeeter pushed through the crowd, acid green quill hovering beside her. No comment, Rita. Is it true you've claimed 7 ancient lordships? Sources say you're amassing unprecedented political power. She thrust her microphone toward him. And who might this be? The first of your rumored 7 queens. Hermione stiffened beside him. Harry placed a protective hand on her back, guiding her past the reporter. We have an appointment with the Department of Inheritance, Miss Skeeter. Excuse us. They pushed through the gathering crowd toward the elevators. Once inside, Harry let out a breath. This is going to be a nightmare. Focus on the plan, Hermione reminded him. File the official documentation, meet with Director Bones as scheduled, then get to Gringotts for the property visitations. Right. One step at a time. The Department of Inheritance was unusually busy when they arrived. Ministry officials darted between offices, carrying stacks of parchment and speaking in hushed, urgent tones. At the main desk, Harry presented his identification and appointment notice. The clerk's eyes widened. Lord Potter. We've been expecting you. She hurriedly stamped his paperwork. Please proceed to conference room 3. Director Foley is waiting. Harry exchanged a look with Hermione. We were scheduled with a junior clerk, not the director. Change of plans, apparently, Hermione whispered as they followed a guide down the hall. Conference room 3 contained not just Director Foley, but 5 senior ministry officials including Percy Weasley, who looked extremely uncomfortable. At the head of the table sat a toad-like woman Harry had hoped never to see again. Undersecretary Umbridge, Harry said coldly. What a surprise. Mr. Potter, Dolores Umbridge smiled with false sweetness. How kind of you to join us. We have some concerns about your inheritance claims. Lord Potter, Hermione corrected firmly. His status has been magically confirmed. Umbridge's smile tightened. That remains to be determined. We have questions about the legitimacy of multiple lordship claims by a single wizard. What she means, came a new voice from the doorway, is that she's terrified of Harry controlling 7 Wizengamot votes. Harry turned to see Susan Bones enter the room, looking formidable in formal DMLE robes, her Aunt Amelia Bones, former head of the DMLE, beside her. Ms. Bones, this is a closed meeting, Umbridge sputtered. Actually, Amelia Bones interjected, as the legal advisor to House Bones and the Potter Alliance, I have every right to be here. As does my niece, who represents the Bones house interests. Susan approached Harry, extending her hand formally. Lord Potter, House Bones recognizes your claims and offers alliance in this transitional period. As Harry shook her hand, he felt the Hufflepuff magic within him respond, warming and swirling with recognition. Susan's eyes widened slightly in surprise, but she maintained her composure. Interesting, Harry thought. 3 houses, 3 potential queens in less than 24 hours. Umbridge slapped a folder on the table. We have evidence suggesting the Slytherin conquest claim is invalid, as you know who was not the recognized Lord Slytherin at the time of his defeat. Actually, Hermione countered, pulling a document from her briefcase, magical conquest claims are determined by magic itself, not ministry regulation. As verified by Gringotts ritual confirmation and these historical precedents. She slid the document across the table. For the next 2 hours, Harry watched as Hermione, Susan, and Amelia systematically dismantled every objection Umbridge raised. When legal arguments failed, Susan leveraged political connections, subtly reminding officials of the Potter family's long-standing alliances. Umbridge grew increasingly flustered. This is highly irregular. At minimum, we must place a temporary hold on these claims pending full investigation. On what grounds? Amelia demanded. Magic has recognized Lord Potter. Gringotts has verified his claims. The appropriate documentation has been filed. She leaned forward. Unless you're suggesting the Ministry has authority over magic itself. That silenced the room. Even Umbridge knew better than to make such a claim. Director Foley cleared his throat. I believe we have sufficient evidence to recognize Lord Potter's inheritance claims, pending standard administrative processing. He glanced nervously at Umbridge. The Wisengamot seats will be updated accordingly. This isn't over, Potter, Umbridge hissed as the meeting concluded. There are proper channels for distributing such power. Proper families who should hold such influence. I couldn't agree more, Harry replied calmly. That's why I'm claiming what's rightfully mine, rather than leaving it to people like you. As they left the Ministry, Susan fell into step beside Harry and Hermione. That was enlightening. Particularly the way your Hufflepuff ring reacted to me. Harry stumbled slightly. You noticed that? Hard not to. I felt like I was suddenly wrapped in warm sunshine. Susan smiled. Aunt Amelia has been researching your inheritance since rumors began circulating last night. The Seven Houses legend isn't just about political power, it's about magical balance and protection. You seem remarkably calm about potentially being my, what? Hufflepuff consort? Harry asked as they reached the atrium. Susan shrugged. The Bones family has always aligned with Hufflepuff values. If magic thinks we're compatible, I'm willing to explore what that means. She handed him a card. I'd like to join you for the property visits. The Hufflepuff estate particularly. Harry nodded, surprised by her straightforward approach. We're heading to Gringotts now, then to Potter Manor first. I'll meet you there in an hour, Susan replied. I need to file our meeting report with Aunt Amelia first. As Susan departed, Hermione gave Harry a thoughtful look. 3 houses, 3 potential queens. This is happening rather quickly. Tell me about it, Harry muttered. Let's get to Gringotts before someone else claims to be magically linked to me. Potter Manor exceeded all of Harry's expectations. Hidden in the Welsh countryside, the sprawling estate emerged from concealment charms as the portkey delivered Harry, Hermione, Daphne, and Susan to its front gates. Stone walls covered in ancient ivy surrounded perfectly maintained gardens, leading to a stately manor house that somehow managed to look both impressive and welcoming. The wards are extraordinary, Hermione commented, closing her eyes to feel the magic. Layers upon layers, some feeling centuries old. House elf magic, Daphne explained. Potter elves have maintained the property despite it being unoccupied. As if summoned by her words, an elderly house elf appeared with a crack, wearing a clean tea towel emblazoned with the Potter crest. He bowed deeply. Master Harry Potter has returned at last. Tessie has waited so long. Harry knelt to the elf's level. Hello, Tessie. I didn't know anyone was still here. Potter elves always maintain the ancestral home, Tessie said proudly. 12 of us care for all Potter properties, but we knew Master would come to the manor first when he claimed his lordship. How did you know I claimed it? Harry asked. The manor told us, Tessie said simply. The house magic has awakened. It sings again after too many silent years. Harry realized he could feel it too, a warm, welcoming magic that felt like coming home. The Potter ring on his finger pulsed gently. The house recognizes its lord, Daphne observed. You should complete the recognition ritual in the family magic room. Tessie led them through the manor, pointing out family heirlooms and portraits as they went. Harry was overwhelmed by this tangible connection to his family heritage, furniture his ancestors had used, portraits of distant relatives who bowed respectfully as he passed. The family magic room was in the heart of the manor, a circular chamber with the Potter crest inlaid in precious stones on the floor. Around the walls hung portraits of previous Lord and Lady Potters, all watching Harry with interest. The ritual is simple, Daphne instructed. Stand in the center, focus on your Potter magic, and state your claim. Harry stepped onto the crest, feeling magic rise up through his feet. He concentrated on the Potter house magic, brave, protective, innovative. I, Harry James Potter, claim my place as Lord of the ancient and noble House of Potter. I claim this house, this land, and this legacy as my own. Magic surged through the room, golden light spiraling up from the floor to envelop Harry. The portraits burst into applause as the light settled into Harry's skin, the Potter magic fully integrating with his core. Well done, son, called a portrait of a man who looked remarkably like Harry. Fleamont Potter, your grandfather. About time you came home. For the next hour, Harry spoke with his ancestors while the three witches explored the manor. When they reconvened, each had discovered something significant. The Potter Library contains original research journals from every generation, Hermione reported excitedly. Your family specialized in magical innovation, they created Sleekeasy's hair potion, advanced shield charms, and dozens of household spells we use today. The wardstone configuration is unique, Susan added. It incorporates Hufflepuff protection patterns, suggesting a historical alliance between our houses. Daphne's discovery was most surprising. The East Wing contains a Lord's Council room with 7 seats, Potter, Black, Peverell, and the 4 founders. Your ancestor expected the houses might one day unite. Not expected, Harry corrected, thinking of his conversation with his grandfather's portrait. Planned for. The Potter family has been working toward this unification for generations, though they never expected it to happen through me. After completing similar rituals at Black Manor and Hufflepuff Haven, the group returned to Grimmauld Place exhausted but exhilarated. The house magics had responded powerfully to each witch, Daphne at Slytherin Lodge, Hermione at Ravenclaw Tower, and Susan at Hufflepuff Haven. Each now wore a consort ring, though all 4 agreed the exact nature of these magical partnerships would develop gradually. We should celebrate, Susan suggested as they collapsed in Grimmault's refreshed kitchen. The house had begun transforming itself since Harry claimed the Black Lordship, dark elements receding as more positive Black family magic reasserted itself. Celebrate what? Harry asked tiredly. The fact that I now own more houses than I can visit in a week? Or that the wizarding world is about to explode with rumors about my harem? Both, Daphne said with a smirk, uncorking a bottle of elvish wine she'd retrieved from the black cellar. But more importantly, we should celebrate surviving Umbridge's first attempt to undermine you. It won't be her last. Hermione accepted a glass. We need to be strategic about the public narrative. The Daily Prophet will run wild with speculation unless we control the story. Press conference? Susan suggested. Get ahead of the rumors. Not yet, Daphne countered. We need all 7 houses secured first. Right now, we're vulnerable on multiple fronts. Harry sipped his wine thoughtfully. What exactly is the threat here? Beyond Umbridge and Ministry politics? The 3 witches exchanged looks. Power vacuums are dangerous, Daphne said finally. With Voldemort gone, various factions are maneuvering for control. Your sudden emergence as a 7-house lord disrupts everyone's plans. And there's something else, Susan added hesitantly. Aunt Amelia mentioned unusual magical disturbances recently. Objects going missing from Ministry storage. Reports of ritual activity in old magical sites. Someone's making a play for power, Hermione concluded. Magical power, not just political. Harry was about to respond when alarm wards chimed throughout the house. Everyone drew their wands. Perimeter breach at Slytherin Lodge, Daphne reported, eyes widening as she felt the notification through her consort ring. Could be coincidence, Hermione said uncertainly. Or someone testing our defenses, Harry countered, already moving toward the flue. Let's find out. Slytherin Lodge was a strange blend of imposing and elegant, a stone mansion built into the side of a remote Scottish mountain. Unlike the warm welcome of Potter Manor, the Slytherin property felt watchful, calculating, measuring whether visitors were worthy of entry. Harry, Daphne, Hermione, and Susan emerged from the secure flue into a grand entrance hall just as alarms blared again. East Wing Ward Breach, Daphne translated, her consort ring pulsing with information. The Artifacts Gallery. You know the layout? Harry asked, already moving in that direction. Slytherin family records contain detailed plans, she confirmed, keeping pace. The Artifacts Gallery houses items of magical significance collected by Slytherin lords over centuries. They moved efficiently through dimly lit corridors, Daphne guiding them with hand signals when necessary. As they approached the East Wing, they heard glass breaking and urgent whispers. Harry signaled for the others to stop, then cast a silent hominum revelio. 3 human shapes appeared in his magical vision, moving rapidly through the gallery ahead. 3 intruders, he whispered. Organized, moving with purpose. Not random thieves, Susan noted. They breached sophisticated wards too easily. Harry nodded. Daphne and I will approach from the main entrance. Hermione, Susan, take the service corridor and cut off their retreat. As Hermione and Susan slipped away, Daphne gave Harry an appraising look. You've done this before. More times than I care to remember, he replied grimly. They crept toward the gallery entrance. Inside, 3 black-robed figures were methodically checking display cases, occasionally removing small objects and placing them in enchanted pouches. Found it, one whispered urgently. The Serpent's Eye. Harry recognized the voice with a jolt. Rookwood, he breathed. Augustus Rookwood, former Unspeakable and Death Eater, supposedly killed in the Battle of Hogwarts. Daphne's eyes widened in recognition. Without hesitation, Harry stepped into the doorway, shield charm already forming. Stupefy, he shouted, red light blasting toward the nearest figure. Chaos erupted. Rookwood and his companions spun, wands flashing with counterspells. Display cases shattered as misdirected curses hit them. Harry and Daphne moved in perfect synchronization, he shielding, she attacking, then reversing roles seamlessly. Potter. Rookwood snarled in recognition. How fortuitous. I'd planned to deal with you later, but now will suffice. A vicious cutting curse shot toward Harry's throat. He deflected it into the ceiling, retaliating with a barrage of stunning spells. From the rear entrance came Hermione and Susan's attack, catching one thief in a crossfire of spells. He collapsed, bound in magical ropes. Take the artifacts and go. Rookwood ordered his remaining companion. I'll handle this. The second thief made a dash for a side door, collection pouch in hand. Susan intercepted with a well-placed impedimenta, slowing him enough for Hermione to disarm him. The thief pulled a secondary wand, casting a blasting curse that threw Susan against a wall. Susan! Harry shouted, momentarily distracted. Rookwood seized the opportunity, firing a spell chain that forced Harry and Daphne behind a heavy stone pedestal. We need to coordinate, Daphne said urgently. The Slytherin house magic, if we channel it together. Harry nodded, grasping her hand. The Slytherin rings on both their fingers flared with green light as they synchronized their magic. Serpensortia Maxima, they cast together. Instead of a single snake, dozens materialized throughout the room, venomous vipers, constrictors, and magical serpent species, all converging on Rookwood and his companion. Protect. Harry hissed in Parseltongue. Capture intruders. The snakes responded instantly, slithering toward the thieves with single-minded purpose. Rookwood's companion panicked, wildly casting fire spells that only created more chaos. Enough of this, Rookwood spat, pulling something from his robes, a small silver device that pulsed with dark magic. Another time, Potter. He activated the device just as Harry's stunning spell reached him. There was a flash of displaced air, and Rookwood vanished, but not before Harry's spell connected partially, causing him to drop a small green gemstone. The remaining thief found himself surrounded by enchanted serpents with no escape. He surrendered, dropping to his knees as Susan, recovered from the blast, bound him with magical restraints. "Everyone all right?" Harry asked, helping Hermione extinguish a small fire caused by the fight. "Fine," Susan winced, holding her side. "Though I'll have bruises tomorrow." Daphne was already examining the display cases, cataloging what had been taken. He got 3 artifacts, a crystal vial, an ancient text, and something called the Founder's Key. "But drop this," Harry said, carefully levitating the green gemstone Rookwood had dropped. It pulsed with magical energy. The Serpent's Eye, Daphne identified it. A focusing crystal for ritual magic. Slytherin created it to amplify parcel magic specifically. Hermione was checking the captured thieves. "This one's McNair's son. The unconscious one is Selwyn. Both connected to Death Eater families. Rookwood leading Death Eater remnants?" Susan questioned, securing the prisoners. "This wasn't about Death Eater ideology," Harry said slowly, studying the Serpent's Eye. "They were after specific magical artifacts. Powerful ones." Daphne nodded grimly. "Artifacts connected to the Founders and ancient house magics. We need to check all the properties," Hermione realized. "If they targeted Slytherin holdings, they might go after the others too," Harry finished. "But why now? What changed?" "You did," Daphne said simply. "When you claimed the lordships, you awakened dormant magics. Magic that's been sleeping for centuries is suddenly active again. And someone wants to harness it," Susan concluded. "Or corrupt it." Harry pocketed the Serpent's Eye, feeling the weight of his new responsibilities more heavily than ever. "Contact the DMLE," he instructed Susan. "We need these 2 interrogated properly. Daphne, catalog exactly what's missing. Hermione, start researching connections between the stolen artifacts." As they moved to their tasks, Harry examined the spot where Rookwood had disappeared. The magical residue was strange, not typical apparition or portkey signatures. Whatever Rookwood was planning, it involved ancient magic and the artifacts of the Founders. And somehow, Harry's claiming of the 7 houses had accelerated his timeline. The game had changed, and Harry had just become the primary target. The next morning, the Daily Prophet's headline screamed, "Boy WHO lived becomes Lord OF7. Harry Potter claims unprecedented magical heritage." Below was a speculative article about Harry's new status, complete with Rita Skeeter's salacious suggestions about his search for 7 queens to complete his magical harem. Harry tossed the paper aside with disgust as he entered the kitchen at Grimmauld Place. So much for keeping things quiet. Hermione looked up from her research notes. "We knew it would break eventually. At least Skeeter doesn't know about the break-in at Slytherin Lodge." "Small mercies," Harry muttered, pouring coffee. "Any word from Susan?" "DMLE is questioning the prisoners, but they're not talking. Rookwood apparently used some kind of loyalty compulsion on them." The flute chimed, announcing Daphne's arrival. She stepped through looking immaculate as always, despite the early hour and yesterday's excitement. "I've completed the inventory," she announced, placing a folder on the table. 3 artifacts definitely missing, plus access records for several sealed chambers were copied. "Chambers?" Harry asked. Slytherin kept his most dangerous research in sealed rooms. Knowledge even he considered too risky for general access. Daphne accepted the coffee Hermione offered. The access records would tell Rookwood how to enter those chambers. Harry rubbed his temples. "So we have a former unspeakable with Death Eater connections stealing Founder artifacts and seeking dangerous ancient knowledge. Brilliant. There's more," Daphne continued. "I cross-referenced with Black family records. Several unusual magical events have been reported at convergence points across Britain. Convergence points. Places where ley lines intersect, Hermione explained. Naturally powerful magical locations. Hogwarts sits on the largest in Britain. Someone's manipulating ambient magic, Daphne concluded. Creating disturbances, possibly preparing for a larger ritual. Before Harry could respond, the flue activated again. This time, Luna Lovegood stepped through, looking exactly as ethereal as Harry remembered, though her expression was unusually serious. "Hello, Harry Potter," she greeted. "The Nargles told me you'd need a Lovegood today." Harry blinked in surprise. "Luna? How did you know where to find you?" she finished. "The Quibbler received an interesting magical pulse last night. Father's recording instruments detected 7 distinct magical signatures converging." She tilted her head. "Your signatures, I believe." Harry exchanged glances with Hermione and Daphne. Luna had always had an uncanny awareness of magical phenomena. "It's good to see you, Luna," Hermione said carefully. "Things have been complicated recently." 7 houses, 7 queens, 1 lord, Luna nodded. The ancient pattern reasserting itself. But someone's trying to corrupt the pattern, aren't they? That's why the Raxperts are so agitated. Despite her unusual terminology, Luna's assessment was spot on. Harry gestured for her to join them. "Rookwood broke into Slytherin Lodge yesterday," he explained. "Stole artifacts related to founder magic." Luna's eyes widened slightly. "The convergence is happening faster than expected then. I felt it when I published my article last week." "What article?" Daphne asked. "About the revival of house magics in Britain," Luna replied, pulling a copy of the Quibbler from her bag. "I've been tracking unusual magical patterns for months." Hermione took the magazine, flipping to Luna's article. Her eyebrows rose as she scanned it. "Luna, this is remarkably accurate information about ancient house magic convergence. The Lovegoods have always seen what others miss," Luna said simply. "We're attuned to magical shifts." Harry felt a now familiar resonance as his Lovegood house ring warmed. Luna noticed immediately, her gaze dropping to his hand. "Ah," she said softly. "That explains the singing in my dreams." "Singing?" Harry questioned. "Lovegood house magic manifests as sensory impressions," Luna explained. "I've been hearing melodies for weeks. They grew stronger after you claimed your lordships." Without prompting, Luna reached for Harry's hand. The moment their fingers touched, silvery blue light spiraled around them. A delicate opal ring materialized on Luna's finger, shifting colors as the light caught it. "The house recognizes me," Luna said with quiet satisfaction. "I am your Lovegood queen." Harry stared at their joined hands, feeling the Lovegood magic clarify within him, intuitive, perceptive, attuned to the unseen. "For houses, for queens," Daphne observed. "The pattern strengthens." "And not a moment too soon," Luna added, her dreamy expression turning serious. "Because Rookwood isn't working alone. He serves something older and darker that's waking beneath Britain." Harry fought down a groan. "Of course he does. Because nothing can ever be simple." "On the contrary," Luna smiled enigmatically. "It's all quite simple. 7 houses to maintain balance. 7 queens to channel the magic. 1 lord to unite them." She patted Harry's hand. "We just need to find the remaining 3 queens before Rookwood completes his ritual." "And how exactly do we do that?" Harry asked. Luna's smile widened. "By listening to what the house magics are trying to tell you, of course." Harry looked around at the 4 extraordinary witches now bound to him through ancient house magic, Daphne's strategic brilliance, Hermione's analytical mind, Susan's unwavering justice, and Luna's intuitive perception. 4 down, 3 to go. Whatever Rookwood was planning, whatever threat was emerging, Harry wasn't facing it alone. For the first time, he felt the full potential of the 7 houses stirring within him, not as separate powers, but as facets of a greater whole. Then let's start listening, he said, newfound determination in his voice. And then we'll stop Rookwood. What none of them noticed was the small magical disturbance outside Grimmauld Place, a momentary shimmer in reality as something tested the wards, then disappeared without a trace. The game was just beginning. Chapter 2, Alliance, Down. Harry shouted, tackling Luna to the floor as a bolt of sickly yellow magic shattered the window and scorched the wall behind them. The peaceful morning briefing at Grimmauld Place had exploded into chaos without warning. 3 more spell blasts followed in quick succession, setting the curtains ablaze and sending books flying from shelves. Daphne was already moving, her wand ablur as she cast interlocking shield charms across the remaining windows. Perimeter breach. At least 5 attackers outside the ward line. Hermione rolled to her feet, extinguishing the burning curtains with a precise water charm. How did they find us? Grimmauld is under Fidelius. They haven't broken the Fidelius, Harry realized, helping Luna up. They're attacking blind, saturating the area with spells hoping to hit something. A massive concussive blast rocked the house, rattling chandeliers and cracking plaster. They're trying to bring down the wards through brute force, Daphne called, reinforcing her shields as another volley struck. Harry's mind raced. This wasn't a precision strike like the Slytherin Lodge break-in. This was different, desperate, almost panicked. They're scared, he muttered. What? Hermione asked, joining him at the window. They're scared, he repeated with sudden clarity. We spooked Rookwood by catching his men yesterday. Now he's lashing out, trying to keep us off balance. Luna nodded serenely, despite dust falling from the ceiling. The pattern threatens them. Each queen strengthens the houses beyond their control. Another blast shook the foundation. Harry felt something shift inside him, the black family magic surging protectively, responding to the threat against its ancestral home. Everyone touch me, he commanded, extending both hands. Now. The 3 witches grabbed his arms without hesitation. Harry closed his eyes, focusing on the black house magic, ancient, proud, protective of its own. Toujours pur, he whispered, invoking the family motto with a new interpretation, purity of purpose, protection of family. Black smoke swirled around the 4 of them, rising from the floorboards and spiraling through their connected hands. Harry felt the others' magic synchronizing with his, Daphne's calculating precision, Hermione's ordered brilliance, Luna's intuitive flow. Black house magic recognizes its defenders, he intoned. Activate the Guardian protocols. The house itself seemed to come alive. Portraits snapped alert, their occupants vanishing from their frames to spread word through connected paintings across magical Britain. The walls groaned as centuries-old defensive enchantments awakened. Outside, the invisible boundary of the property rippled as the black wards shifted from passive to active defense. Screams erupted from the street. Through the damaged window, Harry glimpsed dark figures being flung backward as though struck by invisible battering rams. It worked, Hermione breathed. Not just worked, Daphne observed, watching the scene outside. You've activated ancestral defenses that haven't been seen in generations. Harry felt the drain on his core but remained standing. We need to capture one of them. Find out what Rookwood's planning. Before anyone could respond, a silvery lynx Patronus bounded through the wall, speaking in Kingsley Shacklebolt's voice, emergency at Potter Manor. Multiple intruders. Wards holding but strained. Susan injured. Requesting immediate assistance. Harry's blood ran cold. Susan's at Potter Manor cataloging the family grimoires. They're hitting multiple properties simultaneously, Daphne realized. Coordinated strikes. We split up, Harry decided instantly. Hermione and I will go to Potter Manor. Daphne, secure Slytherin Lodge. Luna, I'll alert the other houses, she finished. The Lovegoods have emergency communication methods. Meet at Hogwarts in 3 hours, Harry directed. It's the most defensible location connected to all 7 houses. As they moved to the flue, another tremor shook the house. Harry, Hermione called urgently, the wards can't hold without your presence now that you've activated them. He hesitated only a second before pressing his ring hand against the nearest wall. Black family magic, I entrust your defense to creature until my return. A crack announced the ancient house elf's appearance. Creature looked different, straighter, more alert, his eyes gleaming with purpose. Master calls upon creature to defend the noble house of Black. Creature obeys. The elf snapped his fingers, and dozens more house elves appeared throughout the house, each wearing the Black family crest. The ancestral servants, Daphne whispered. They've been waiting for a true Lord Black to call them. Harry nodded to creature. Capture one attacker for questioning if possible. As master commands, creature bowed, a dangerous glint in his ancient eyes. With no time to waste, they separated, each heading to defend a different ancestral property against what was clearly a coordinated attempt to strike while Harry's lordship was new and vulnerable. Potter Manor's immaculate grounds were scarred with magical burns when Harry and Hermione arrived through the emergency Lord's Passage, a direct magical connection that bypassed standard wards. 6 wizards in hooded cloaks were maintaining a sustained magical assault against the manor's golden dome of protective energy. In the entrance hall, they found Susan crouched behind an overturned table, blood seeping through her robes from a shoulder wound, still firing spells through a window at their attackers. About time, she grimaced, her wand never stopping its precise movements. They hit us 10 minutes ago. Came out of nowhere. How bad? Harry asked, examining her wound. Just a cutting hex. Tessie patched me up enough to keep fighting. Susan nodded toward the house elf who was reinforcing windows with surprising magical skill. Hermione moved to the window, analyzing the attack pattern. They're not trying to get in. They're trying to drain the wards. Why? Harry wondered. The Potter grimoires, Susan explained through gritted teeth. They contain unique family magic. If they can't steal them, they might be trying to destroy them. Harry felt cold fury rising within him. These were his family's legacies, perhaps the only connection he had left to his parents and ancestors. Not happening, he growled, the Potter ring glowing brightly on his finger. Hermione, coordinate with Tessie to reinforce the east wing. Susan, can you still cast? She responded by sending a nasty bone-breaker hex through the window that connected with one attacker's leg, dropping him screaming to the ground. I'll take that as a yes, Harry nodded. Keep them distracted. I'm going to show them why attacking Potter Manor was a supremely bad idea. He moved swiftly through the manor to the family magic room, kneeling at the center of the Potter crest embedded in the floor. Placing his palm against the cool stone, he focused on his connection to the property. I am Harry James Potter, Lord of this house. I call upon the guardians of Potterland to awaken and defend what is ours. The crest began to glow, pulsing with golden light that spread outward through the floor, up the walls, and into the very foundation of the property. Outside, the earth trembled. From the perfectly manicured gardens, stone creatures that had appeared to be mere decorations, griffins, lions, and stags, shuddered to life. Their eyes glowed with inner fire as they turned toward the intruders with predatory focus. Simultaneously, the trees at the property's edge creaked and groaned, their branches extending like grasping hands. The very land itself responded to Harry's call, ancient magic recognizing the blood of its true master. The attackers' organized assault faltered as they found themselves suddenly hunted by stone guardians and ensnared by animated foliage. Their coordinated spellcasting broke down into panicked individual defenses. Harry returned to the entrance hall, where Hermione and Susan were watching the chaos with wide eyes. The Potter family had some serious security measures, Hermione commented, watching a stone griffin pin a screaming wizard to the ground. Old family, old magic, Susan replied. I've heard stories about ancestral properties having semi-sentient defenses, but I've never actually seen it. Harry focused on the apparent leader, a tall wizard still fighting off a particularly determined stone stag. Let's get some answers. He strode onto the front steps, magic crackling visibly around him, fueled by his connection to the property. With a precise flick of his wand, he disarmed the leader and summoned him through the air. The man crashed at Harry's feet, his hood falling back to reveal a weathered face with a distinctive scar across one cheek. Walden Mulciber, Hermione identified him. Supposedly killed during the battle at Hogwarts. Harry crouched beside the struggling Death Eater. Why are you attacking my properties? Mulciber spat blood. The seven must not unite. The circle cannot complete. Who sent you? Rookwood. A strange smile twisted Mulciber's face. Rookwood serves, as we all serve. The seventh seal breaks. The sleeper stirs. Before Harry could question him further, Mulciber's eyes rolled back, and his body began to convulse. Foam gathered at his lips. Poison capsule. Hermione cried, dropping to her knees beside him, casting diagnostic charms. Some kind of loyalty failsafe. Despite their efforts, Mulciber died within seconds, his final words a whispered, "The sleeper comes." Harry stood, jaw clenched in frustration. Secure the others before they can activate whatever killed him. I want answers. The surviving attackers were rounded up, but each bore the same enchanted suicide trigger. Anyone who attempted to reveal information died instantly. They managed to save only one, a younger wizard who appeared to be a new recruit. After securing Potter Manor with additional wards and leaving Susan coordinating with a team of Aurors who arrived in response to the attack, Harry and Hermione headed to Hogwarts for their planned rendezvous. The headmistress's office at Hogwarts had been expanded to accommodate what had become an impromptu war council. McGonagall had granted them use of the space without hesitation when she learned of the coordinated attacks. 7 properties targeted simultaneously, Daphne reported, marking locations on a map of Britain. Black Manor, Potter Manor, Slytherin Lodge, Ravenclaw Tower, Hufflepuff Haven, Peveril Castle, and the Lovegood Research Facility. Coordinated and precise, Harry noted. They knew exactly when and where to strike. Luna sat cross-legged on a corner of McGonagall's desk, seeming to listen to something no one else could hear. They're disrupting the convergence lines. Creating magical interference. Convergence lines? Hermione questioned. Magical ley lines that connect the 7 properties, Luna explained. They form a heptagram across Britain, a 7-pointed star of power. By attacking all 7 points simultaneously, they're creating magical static that prevents the houses from fully aligning. Harry examined the map where Daphne had connected the 7 properties. Sure enough, they formed a perfect 7-pointed star across Britain, with Hogwarts at the center. How would Rookwood know about this, he wondered. Because it was an unspeakable research project, came a new voice from the doorway. They turned to see Padma Patil standing there, looking travel-worn but determined, a heavy tome clutched to her chest. Padma? Harry exclaimed in surprise. She stepped into the room, placing her book on McGonagall's desk. I was in the Department of Mysteries archives in India when I felt a magical summons. Her eyes dropped to Harry's hand. From that ring, I believe. Harry glanced at his ring, which was now prominently displaying the Peveril crest. The house magic has been reaching out to potential queens. So I gathered, Padma replied with remarkable composure. The magical signature matched research I've been conducting on convergence points and ancient house magic. How did you get here so quickly? Hermione asked. International Portkey Network. I called in several favors. Padma opened her book, revealing intricate diagrams of ley line configurations. After the magical summons, I connected some disturbing dots. 3 years ago, Rookwood visited the Indian Department of Mysteries, researching ancient convergence points. He was particularly interested in heptagram configurations. 7 points of power, Daphne murmured. Exactly, Padma confirmed. The 7 most ancient magical houses in Britain form a perfect heptagram. When properly aligned under a single lord and 7 queens, they create a magical resonance of extraordinary power. For what purpose? Harry asked. Protection, Luna answered simply. The original founders of these houses created this system to shield Britain from magical threats. Like a national ward scheme, anchored in blood and oath. Padma nodded. The historical records suggest the system was designed as a last resort against some ancient magical threat. The details were deliberately obscured, but she was interrupted as the office door burst open again. Fleur Delacour stormed in, her Vila heritage evident in the faint glow surrounding her and the dangerous flash in her eyes. "Harry Potter," she said, her accent thickening with emotion, "you have activated ZE Black family magic without warning me?" "Fleur." Harry blinked in surprise. "What are you? I am a Black by marriage," she reminded him sharply. "When you claimed the lordship, I felt it. When you activated the ancestral defenses, every Black by blood or marriage felt it." She tossed a copy of the Daily Prophet onto the desk. "And now this." The headline read, "International Incident, Foreign Governments Demand Explanation for Potter's Power Grab. It seems your claiming of 7 houses has attracted international attention," McGonagall observed dryly, entering her office behind Fleur. "The French, Bulgarian, and American magical governments have all sent inquiries." Harry groaned. "I don't have time for political games. We're dealing with actual attacks." "Which is precisely why I am here," Fleur stated, calming slightly. "Bill and I were investigating a series of unusual magical disturbances for Gringotts. Ancient sites activating, dormant artifacts awakening. Then I felt the black magic calling." She approached Harry, studying him intently. "You need a Black Queen who understands international magical cooperation. The threats you face cross borders." Without waiting for permission, Fleur took Harry's hand. The Black family ring gleamed, and shadows swirled around their joined hands. A moment later, an elegant onyx ring appeared on Fleur's finger. 5 houses claimed, 5 queens found, Luna noted serenely. The pattern strengthens. Harry felt the Black family magic settle into greater clarity within him, proud, strategic, protective of its own. Fleur fit it perfectly, her fierce loyalty and international perspective complementing the house's nature. "This is happening rather quickly," he commented, somewhat overwhelmed. "It must," Padma said seriously. "The magical resonance is building. Each house you claim, each queen who joins you, creates stronger alignment." She hesitated, then reached for Harry's hand. "Including, it seems, me." As their fingers touched, the Peveril ring flared with silver light. Magic spiraled around them, and a silver ring with the Peveril symbol appeared on Padma's finger. 6, Luna counted with satisfaction. Harry felt the Peveril magic clarify, ancient, mysterious, connected to fundamental principles of magic itself. Padma's scholarly precision and Eastern magical knowledge complemented it perfectly. "This is all very fascinating," McGonagall interrupted, "but perhaps we should focus on the attacks that occurred today." "Right," Harry agreed, reluctantly pulling his thoughts back to the immediate threat. "Rookwood is targeting the houses to prevent them from aligning properly." "But why?" Padma turned to her book. "According to these records, the heptagram alignment creates a magical field that can detect and neutralize certain types of ancient magic, particularly those associated with corruption and destruction. So Rookwood wants to use forbidden magic that would be neutralized if the houses fully align," Hermione theorized. "It's more than that," Luna said, her dreamy expression momentarily focused. "The attacks weren't just about disruption. They were taking measurements, magical readings." Fleur nodded sharply. "The curse breaker in me recognizes the pattern. They're preparing a counter-ritual." "To do what, exactly?" Harry pressed. "To corrupt the convergence," Padma explained grimly. "Turn protection into power, shield into weapon. If Rookwood can subvert the heptagram at the moment of its completion, he could harness the combined power of all 7 houses," Daphne finished, her strategic mind grasping the implications immediately. Harry paced the office, thinking rapidly. So we need to complete the circle before he can corrupt it. Find the 7th queen and fully activate all 7 houses. While also preventing further attacks and preparing for whatever Rookwood is planning, Hermione added. We need more information. McGonagall cleared her throat. I believe I can help with that. During today's attacks, Hogwarts' own wards detected a magical intrusion in the lower chambers, specifically, in areas once belonging to the Founders. Another theft attempt? Daphne asked. Perhaps, McGonagall replied, but nothing appears to be missing. However, the castle's defensive enchantments captured this. She waved her wand at her pensieve, which projected an image into the air. The fuzzy magical recording showed a hooded figure placing crystalline devices at specific points in the Chamber of Secrets, Ravenclaw's hidden study, a concealed room near the Hufflepuff common room, and a previously unknown chamber behind the Gryffindor fireplace. Magical sensors, Fleur identified immediately. Similar to what Gringotts uses to detect curses, but modified. They're mapping the castle's magical foundations, Padma realized. The school sits at the center of the heptagram, it's the focal point where all the ley lines converge. Harry studied the recording carefully. Did you capture the intruder? Unfortunately not, McGonagall admitted. They used some form of magical transportation unlike anything I've seen, not apparition or portkey. Same as Rookwood used at Slytherin Lodge, Harry noted. Some kind of experimental transportation device. From the Department of Mysteries, most likely, Hermione suggested. Rookwood was an unspeakable, after all. Harry made a decision. We need to secure Hogwarts immediately. If it's the focal point of the heptagram, Rookwood will make his move here. The school has survived 1,000 years of magical threats, McGonagall reminded him. Not like this, Luna said softly. Not with someone deliberately corrupting the Founder's own protective magic. Harry turned to the gathered witches, his 5 queens, each bringing unique strengths and knowledge. We need to work fast. Hermione, coordinate with McGonagall to strengthen Hogwarts' defenses. Daphne, use your political connections to manage the international situation. Fleur, your curse-breaking expertise is needed to understand these sensors. Padma, Luna, I need everything you know about the heptagram configuration and how to properly complete it. And you? Hermione asked. I'm going to the Department of Mysteries, Harry replied grimly. If Rookwood was using their resources, I need to know exactly what he took and what he's planning. You can't just walk into the Department of Mysteries, Daphne pointed out. Even as Lord of 7 Houses, there are protocols. Watch me, Harry said simply, his expression making it clear the matter wasn't up for debate. The Ministry of Magic was in chaos when Harry arrived. News of the coordinated attacks on ancient properties had spread, creating panic among a population still recovering from Voldemort's reign. Security had been doubled, with Aurors checking everyone's magical signature at entry points. Harry bypassed most of this by using his lordship ring to activate the special entrance reserved for Wisengamot members, a privilege of his new status he hadn't anticipated using so soon. He found Kingsley Shacklebolt in the Aura department, coordinating response teams. Lord Potter, Kingsley acknowledged, looking exhausted. I was about to contact you. We have reports of magical disturbances at multiple locations connected to your houses. I'm aware, Harry replied. My people are securing the properties. What I need now is access to the Department of Mysteries. Kingsley's eyebrows rose. That's not within my authority to grant. The unspeakables operate independently of, Rookwood was an unspeakable, Harry cut in. He's using department technology and research for whatever he's planning. I need to know what he had access to. Even if I agreed with you, Kingsley said carefully, the department doesn't answer to the minister, let alone the Auror office. Harry leaned closer. Then it's fortunate I don't need official permission. What I need is for you to look the other way for about 30 minutes. Kingsley studied him for a long moment. The attacks today targeted properties under your protection. Investigating those attacks falls under our jurisdiction. If your investigation happens to lead you to the Department of Mysteries. He shrugged. I can't control where the evidence takes you. Harry nodded in appreciation. Thank you. I never said this, Kingsley added quietly, but Croaker, the head unspeakable, has been acting strangely since Rookwood's supposed death. Several restricted projects have been reallocated. Resources have gone missing. You think the department itself might be compromised? I think, Kingsley chose his words carefully, that ancient power structures don't always align with the current ministry's interests. Be careful, Harry. With that tacit permission, Harry made his way to level 9. The black door of the Department of Mysteries loomed before him, just as ominous as it had been during his 5th-year excursion. He drew his wand, focused on the Potter House magic for courage, and entered. The circular room with its identical doors began to spin immediately. Rather than guess, Harry raised his master ring and commanded, as Lord of the 7 Houses, I seek the records of Augustus Rookwood. The spinning slowed, and one door glowed slightly. Harry pushed through it into a vast library of glowing orbs, not prophecies like the ones he'd encountered years ago, but personnel records, each containing the magical signature and research history of an unspeakable. He navigated through the shelves, following his ring's pull until he found an orb labeled Rookwood, Augustus. When he touched it, the orb expanded into a 3-dimensional display of projects, resources, and locations. Most were labeled with incomprehensible department codes, but one section was highlighted in pulsing red, Project Ouroboros, authorized access only. Harry dug deeper into this project, discovering references to septenary convergence, magical nullification fields, and sealed threat containment. The most recent entry, dated just weeks before the Battle of Hogwarts, read simply, Sleeper location confirmed. Containment deteriorating. Recommend immediate Protocol 7 implementation. Before Harry could investigate further, he felt a prickling sensation at the back of his neck. Instinctively, he dropped to the floor as a stunning spell passed through the space where his head had been. Impressive reflexes, Lord Potter, came a cool, female voice. But then, your combat experience is well documented. Harry rolled to his feet, wand ready, to face an unspeakable in traditional grey robes, her face obscured by enchantments. I'm investigating the attacks on my properties, Harry stated firmly. By breaking into restricted department archives? How convenient. The unspeakable circled slowly. What exactly are you looking for? Information on Rookwood's Project Ouroboros. And why the department hasn't shared what they know about his survival and current activities. The unspeakable paused. Who said Rookwood survived? I fought him yesterday at Slytherin Lodge, Harry replied bluntly. He's stealing artifacts connected to the founders and placing sensor devices at my properties. Using department technology to do it. This information seemed to genuinely surprise the unspeakable. That's not possible. All department transportation devices are accounted for. Apparently not, Harry countered. And I think some people in this department know exactly what he's planning. The unspeakable's wand lowered slightly. These are serious accusations. They're facts. Rookwood is using department research on magical convergence points to corrupt the heptagram formed by my 7 houses. A tense silence followed before the unspeakable spoke again. Wait here. She disappeared through a side door Harry hadn't noticed. 5 minutes later, she returned with another hooded figure, this one radiating authority and considerably more magical power. Lord Potter, the new arrival addressed him. I am Croaker, head unspeakable. Your presence here is highly irregular. So is a former unspeakable using your resources to attack my properties and attempt to corrupt founder magic, Harry retorted. Croaker was silent for a moment. Follow me. He led Harry deeper into the department, through rooms containing strange experiments and arcane research, finally arriving at a heavily warded chamber. Inside was a large circular stone table with 7 indentations arranged in a heptagram pattern. This is the septenary table, Croker explained. Created by the founders of Hogwarts and the other ancient houses to monitor the magical boundaries of Britain. Each indentation is designed to hold a focus stone attuned to one of the 7 houses. Harry approached the table cautiously. What does it do? When fully activated with all 7 stones, it creates a detection field that can identify certain magical anomalies, specifically, intrusions from magical entities not native to our reality. Not native to our reality? Harry repeated incredulously. There are things older than wizard kind, Croker said gravely. Things sealed away during the founding of our magical society. The 7 houses were created specifically to maintain those seals through their combined magical resonance. Understanding dawned on Harry. The sleeper that Mulciber mentioned. That's what this is about. Croker's posture stiffened. What exactly did he say? The 7th seal breaks. The sleeper stirs, Harry quoted. Rookwood isn't just trying to gain power. He's trying to break a seal containing something. Croker turned to his assistant. Alert containment teams immediately. Activate Protocol 7. To Harry, he said, we've been monitoring weakening magical containment fields at 7 ancient sites across Britain. If Rookwood is deliberately sabotaging them while preventing the houses from forming their protective alignment. He's trying to wake this sleeper, Harry finished. But why? Power, Croker stated simply. Legend holds that whoever releases the entity can harness a fraction of its power, enough to reshape magical reality itself. Harry stared at the table, thinking quickly. These focus stones, they're what Rookwood has been stealing from my properties. Most likely. The department has one, the Ministry Stone. The others were entrusted to the 7 houses for safekeeping. Then we need to recover them before Rookwood can use them for his counter-ritual, Harry decided. And we need to complete the proper alignment of the houses. Croker hesitated. Lord Potter, I should warn you. The full activation of the 7 houses hasn't been attempted in centuries. The magical backlash could be unpredictable. More unpredictable than an ancient sealed entity being released. Harry asked dryly. Before Croker could respond, the door burst open and a young witch in department robes rushed in, her hood falling back to reveal a familiar face. Trace Davis? Harry exclaimed, recognizing his former Hogwarts classmate. Harry. Thank Merlin I found you, Tracy gasped, out of breath. Rookwood's inside the department. He just stole the Ministry Focus Stone. Alarm wards began blaring throughout the department. Croker rushed to a communication panel on the wall. Full lockdown. Seal all exits. Tracy grabbed Harry's arm. He's using that same transportation device. Standard containment won't stop him. Harry turned to Croker. I need to know exactly what he's planning and where he'll go next. Croker made a split-second decision. Davis, show him the Ouroboros files. I'll coordinate the response team. He fixed Harry with a stern look. This goes beyond ministry politics, Lord Potter. If Rookwood succeeds. I understand, Harry assured him. My houses were created to prevent this. I intend to make sure they fulfill that purpose. As Croker rushed out, Tracy led Harry through a concealed door into a research archive. I've been tracking Rookwood's activities for months, she explained, pulling files from a hidden compartment. I joined the department specifically to monitor him after the war. You're an unspeakable. Harry asked, surprised. Junior researcher, Tracy clarified. Specializing in historical magical anomalies. Which made me perfectly positioned to notice when Rookwood started accessing sealed files about the Founders' Pact. She spread diagrams across a desk, complex magical formulas showing the heptagram configuration and its relationship to 7 ancient sealed chambers across Britain. The 7 houses form a protective network, Tracy explained. When properly aligned under a true lord and 7 queens, they create a magical resonance that strengthens the seals containing an entity called the Devourer. The Sleeper, Harry nodded. One of its many names, Tracy confirmed. Rookwood discovered that the protective network has been weakening for centuries as the houses lost their true lords and ladies. He believes that by corrupting the remaining power using the focus stones in a counter-ritual, he can control the release of the Devourer and harness its power. And we believe he can actually do this? Harry asked skeptically. Tracy's expression was grim. The department's been monitoring containment field deterioration for decades. Recent readings are off the charts. Something is waking up, Harry, and Rookwood is helping it along. Harry studied the diagrams, a plan forming in his mind. I have 6 of the 7 queens. If we find the 7th and recover the stolen focus stones, you have 6 queens already? Tracy interrupted, astonished. Harry nodded. Daphne Greengrass for Slytherin, Hermione Granger for Ravenclaw, Susan Bones for Hufflepuff, Luna Lovegood for her family house, Fleur Delacour for Black, and Padma Patil for Peveril. Tracy stared at him, then slowly looked down at the Gryffindor house diagram in front of her. That's quite significant. Harry followed her gaze, suddenly understanding. Tracy, what's your magical affinity? Combat and protective magic, she replied quietly. My research focuses on magical barriers and how they can be strengthened or breached. Without another word, Harry extended his hand, focusing on the Gryffindor house magic, brave, protective, the shield against darkness. The master ring shifted, its ruby gleaming brightly. Tracy hesitated only briefly before placing her hand in his. Golden red light spiraled around their joined hands, and a ruby ring materialized on her finger. 7 houses, 7 queens, Harry murmured, feeling the Gryffindor magic clarify within him, becoming sharper, more focused, a perfect complement to his natural inclinations. Well, Tracy said, examining her new ring with a mixture of awe and practicality, that simplifies things and complicates them at the same time. How so? Simplifies because we now have the complete magical circle needed to counter Rookwood. Complicates because. She tapped a notation on one of the diagrams. According to this, the moment the 7th queen is recognized, the final phase of alignment begins. We have exactly 7 days to perform the unification ritual before the magical resonance destabilizes. 7 days to save the world, Harry said with grim humor. Sounds about right. The department alarms suddenly intensified. Tracy grabbed the most crucial files. We need to go. If Rookwood realizes you found your 7th queen, he'll accelerate his plans. Where would he take the focus stones? Harry asked as they rushed through the department. Hogwarts, Tracy replied without hesitation. It's the center of the heptagram. The only place where the counter-ritual could work. Harry's thoughts raced ahead to the others waiting at Hogwarts. Then that's where we need to be. The castle was on high alert when Harry and Tracy arrived. Professors patrolled the corridors, and suits of armor had been animated as additional security. McGonagall met them at the entrance to her office. Mr. Potter, Ms. Davis, she greeted them tensely. The situation has escalated. We've detected unusual magical energy at all 7 house properties simultaneously. Inside the office, Harry found his other queens gathered around a magical model of Britain that Padma and Fleur had constructed, showing pulsing ley lines connecting the 7 properties with Hogwarts at the center. Harry! Hermione rushed forward. The magical sensors Rookwood planted have activated. They're creating some kind of interference pattern along the ley lines. Disrupting the natural flow of house magic, Padma added, adjusting the model to show dark spots where the energy was being diverted. Harry quickly introduced Tracy to the group. Our Gryffindor queen, he explained simply. The circle is complete, Luna observed with satisfaction, though her dreamy expression was tempered with concern. But the pattern is already under attack. Harry outlined what he'd learned at the Department of Mysteries, Rookwood's plan, the sleeper, and the significance of the focus stones. So we have 7 days before magical instability makes alignment impossible, Daphne summarized. And Rookwood has at least one focus stone already. More, Tracy corrected grimly. Department sensors indicate 5 of the 7 stones have been removed from their resting places. Only the Gryffindor and Ravenclaw stones remain secured. Where? Harry demanded. Tracy pointed to the model. The Ravenclaw stone is hidden in the observatory tower. The Gryffindor stone is concealed in Godric's personal chambers behind the Great Hall. Then we secure those immediately while preparing to recover the others, Harry decided. Fleur studied the model intently. These interference patterns, they're not just disrupting. They're redirecting energy to specific convergence points. She tapped 7 locations scattered across Britain. Ancient sealed chambers, according to these readings. The containment sites, Harry confirmed. Rookwood is channeling the disrupted house magic to weaken the seals. We need to counter the interference while securing the remaining stones, Hermione stated. Split into teams. Harry nodded. Hermione, Padma, secure the Ravenclaw stone. Tracy and I will get the Gryffindor stone. Daphne, Luna, work with McGonagall to establish castle defenses. Fleur, we need your curse-breaking expertise to analyze and counter those sensor devices. What about Susan? Daphne asked. She's coordinating with the DMLE, Harry replied. We need official support to secure the properties and track Rookwood's movements. As they prepared to move out, a sudden magical pulse shook the castle, causing the model to flare brightly before stabilizing. What was that? Harry demanded. Padma checked the readings. Rookwood just activated the Black Family Focus Stone. The magical resonance is destabilizing faster than expected. How much time does that give us? Hermione asked anxiously. Tracy and Padma exchanged grim looks. 3 days, Tracy estimated. Maybe less. Then we work faster, Harry stated firmly. Rookwood wants this confrontation at Hogwarts. Fine. But we'll be the ones setting the terms. Godric Gryffindor's personal chambers were hidden behind an enchanted tapestry depicting the founding of Hogwarts. Access required Gryffindor house magic, which Harry now possessed in abundance. Impressive security, Tracy commented as they navigated the revealed passageway. These enchantments have lasted 1,000 years. The founders knew what they were doing, Harry replied, his wand illuminating ancient runes carved into the walls. They built all this to contain something so dangerous they couldn't destroy it. The passage opened into a circular room dominated by a massive fireplace. Unlike the rest of the castle, this chamber felt untouched by time, preservation charms maintaining everything exactly as Godric had left it. There, Tracy pointed to a small alcove beside the fireplace where a ruby-like stone glowed with inner fire. The Gryffindor Focus Stone. As Harry approached it, the stone pulsed in response to his house magic. How do we safely move it? The containment box, Tracy replied, removing a specially designed box from her robes. Department standard for dangerous artifacts. Harry reached for the stone, but the moment his fingers came within inches, magical energy surged outward, throwing him back. Additional security measure, Tracy noted, helping him up. It needs both Lord and Lady to remove it. Together, then, Harry suggested, extending his hand to her. With their fingers intertwined, both Gryffindor rings glowing, they approached the stone again. This time, the magical barrier recognized them, rippling like water before dissipating. Harry carefully lifted the stone, which felt surprisingly warm and vibrated slightly against his palm. As he placed it in the containment box, he felt a momentary connection, impressions of courage, protection, and sacrifice that defined Gryffindor's essence. One secured, he said as Tracy sealed the box. Let's hope Hermione and Padma are having similar success with the Ravenclaw stone. They hadn't taken 3 steps toward the exit when the castle trembled violently. Dust rained from the ceiling as the ancient stones groaned. That's not good, Tracy muttered, steadying herself against the wall. Harry's communication mirror activated automatically, Hermione's face appearing. Harry. Rookwood's breached the castle wards. He's in the astronomy tower. The Ravenclaw stone, Harry realized with dread. We're on our way. They raced through the castle, finding it in chaos. Students were being evacuated to secure locations while professors reinforced defensive positions. As they rounded the corner toward the astronomy tower, a massive explosion rocked the structure. Through broken windows, Harry glimpsed dark-robed figures on broomsticks circling the tower, firing spells at the defenders within. Aerial assault, Tracy analyzed quickly. Distraction while Rookwood goes for the stone. Then we change the equation, Harry decided. He pressed his hand against the nearest wall, focusing on his connection to Hogwarts through the 4 founder houses. Castle defenses, activate under Gryffindor authority. The response was immediate and impressive. Gargoyles broke free from their perches, launching themselves at the attacking broom riders. Suits of armor marched in formation toward the tower. Even the staircases realigned to create the most direct path for defenders. Impressive, Tracy commented as they continued toward the tower. They arrived at the astronomy tower to find Hermione and Padma engaged in fierce magical combat with Rookwood and 3 followers. The Ravenclaw focus stone hovered between them, caught in a tug-of-war of competing spells. Harry. Hermione called, maintaining her magical hold on the stone. He's using some kind of amplification device. Indeed, Rookwood wore a strange mechanical gauntlet that seemed to boost his spellcasting power beyond normal levels. Department Technology, Tracy identified grimly. Experimental Magic Enhancer. Harry didn't waste time on words. He launched directly into the battle, his spellcasting fluid and powerful. Tracy moved in perfect synchronization with him, their Gryffindor magic naturally aligning to create complementary attack and defense patterns. Rookwood sneered when he spotted Harry. Too late, Potter. The alignment is already corrupting. The sleeper already stirs. Not while I'm still standing, Harry countered, driving Rookwood back with a barrage of spells. The battle intensified as they fought for control of the focus stone. Hermione and Padma worked in tandem, their Ravenclaw magic creating complex spell chains that confused and disoriented Rookwood's followers. Harry and Tracy pressed the attack against Rookwood himself, gradually pushing him away from the hovering stone. As they gained the advantage, Rookwood's expression changed from confidence to calculation. You may win this skirmish, Potter, he spat, but you've already lost the war. He activated his transportation device, beginning to shimmer out of existence. Harry lunged forward, grabbing Rookwood's arm at the last second. Magic surged painfully through him as the transportation field tried to reject his presence. Let go, fool. Rookwood snarled. You'll tear us both apart. Harry held tight, focusing his magic through the master ring to stabilize the transportation field. Not until you tell me where the other focus stones are. Their magical energies clashed violently, creating a destabilizing effect that caused the very air around them to crackle with power. The astronomy tower trembled under the magical pressure. Harry, let go. Hermione shouted in alarm. The field's collapsing. With a final surge of desperation, Rookwood broke free, shoving Harry back with a magical pulse that sent him crashing into the observatory equipment. The transportation field collapsed around Rookwood, who vanished with a sound like tearing fabric. But not before Harry spotted something fall from his robes, a small leather-bound journal that skidded across the floor. As Hermione and Padma secured the Ravenclaw focus stone, Tracy helped Harry to his feet. Are you all right? Been better, Harry grimaced, retrieving the fallen journal. But I got a consolation prize. The journal was filled with complex diagrams, ritual specifications, and locations, Rookwood's personal research notes on Project Ouroboros and his counter-ritual plans. This is comprehensive, Hermione said in amazement as they examined it together. Ritual sites, timing calculations, focus stone frequencies. He's planning the ritual for 3 days from now, Padma noted, pointing to highlighted lunar calculations. During the dark of the moon. And we now know where he's storing the stolen focus stones, Tracy added, indicating a map reference. An abandoned unspeakable research facility in the Scottish Highlands. Harry studied the information grimly. Then we have 3 days to recover the stolen stones, counter the interference on the ley lines, and perform our own unification ritual. While also preventing Rookwood from releasing an ancient destructive entity, Hermione added dryly. Just another week at Hogwarts, really. Despite the gravity of the situation, they shared a moment of grim laughter. 7 magical houses, 7 extraordinary witches, and 1 accidental lord standing against an ancient threat. It wasn't the future Harry had imagined after defeating Voldemort, but somehow it felt right. Let's get these focus stones secured, Harry decided. Then we plan our counteroffensive. The room of requirement transformed itself into a war room beyond even Harry's expectations. Maps covered the walls, a large tactical table dominated the center, and 7 alcoves appeared around the perimeter, each styled to represent one of the ancient houses. All 7 queens gathered with Harry to plan their response to Rookwood's scheme. Susan had returned from the ministry with official authorization for their mission, while Daphne had leveraged political connections to manage the international fallout from the day's events. Rookwood's journal confirms what we suspected, Harry began, placing the secured focus stones on the table. He's corrupting the house magic alignment to weaken 7 ancient seals. Once weakened, he plans to break the final seal during a ritual at Hogwarts, releasing enough of the Devourer's power for him to control. Can he actually control such an entity? Fleur asked skeptically. No, Luna answered simply. The Devourer cannot be controlled. But Rookwood believes otherwise, which makes him all the more dangerous. Tracy spread Rookwood's diagrams across the table. According to his notes, he needs 5 of the 7 focus stones for his ritual. We have 2 secured, leaving 5 he's already stolen. His base is here, Harry indicated the location in the Highlands. Heavily warded, according to his notes, with multiple magical defenses. A frontal assault would be suicide, Daphne observed. Which is why we're not going to attack directly, Harry replied. We're going to use the house magic connection against him. He outlined his plan. While Rookwood expected them to attempt recovery of the stolen stones, they would instead focus on strengthening the ley line connections between the 7 properties, using each queen's presence at their respective house to channel protective magic directly to Hogwarts. By creating a stable magical framework first, Padma explained, we can perform the unification ritual even without all 7 focus stones. It won't be as powerful, but it will counter Rookwood's corruption and buy us time. Meanwhile, Harry continued, a smaller team will infiltrate Rookwood's facility to recover the stones. And who's going on this suicide mission? Hermione asked, though her tone suggested she already knew the answer. Tracy and I, Harry confirmed. Her department knowledge combined with my connection to the stones gives us the best chance of success. No one looked happy with this division, but the strategic logic was sound. What do you need from each of us? Susan asked practically. Harry explained how each queen would return to their respective house property, connecting to its ward stone and channeling protective magic along the ley lines to Hogwarts. Luna would coordinate the magical alignment through her love-good abilities to perceive magical patterns, while Hermione would remain at Hogwarts to prepare the unification ritual. This plan puts you at significant risk, Daphne pointed out to Harry. If you're captured, that's not the plan, Harry interrupted with a slight smile. But I appreciate the concern. For the next several hours, they refined the details of their approach. Maps were marked, timelines established, magical theory debated and clarified. Each queen contributed their unique perspective and abilities to strengthening the overall strategy. As midnight approached, they separated to rest before implementation began at dawn. Harry found himself standing at the window, looking out over the Hogwarts grounds, lost in thought. Footsteps approached, and he turned to see all 7 queens joining him, forming a semicircle behind him. You should be resting, he said, though he was genuinely pleased to see them. So should you, Hermione countered. But that's not how this works. We wanted to give you something, Susan explained. A focus for tomorrow's mission. From a small wooden box, Daphne removed what appeared to be a simple silver pendant. Each of us has contributed our magic to this. It contains a fragment of each house's protection. An anchor, Padma elaborated. To keep you connected to the ley network even when you're inside Rookwood's wards. And a way home if things go sideways, Fleur added practically. Luna stepped forward to place it around his neck. As the pendant touched his chest, Harry felt the combined essence of all 7 houses flowing through it, not as separate magical signatures, but as a harmonious whole. We may have been brought together by ancient magic and circumstance, Tracy said, but we stay together by choice. Our choice, Hermione emphasized. Harry looked at these 7 extraordinary witches, each powerful in her own right, each bringing unique strengths and perspectives to their unlikely alliance. Whatever ancient magic had drawn them together, something much more human was binding them now. Thank you, he said simply, knowing they understood all he wasn't putting into words. As they separated for the night, Harry clutched the pendant, drawing strength from its connection to the women who had, in just a few extraordinary days, become essential to his life in ways he was only beginning to understand. Tomorrow would bring danger, possibly disaster. But for the first time, Harry felt not just responsible for stopping the threat, but hopeful about what might come after. Dawn broke over Hogwarts with an unnatural crimson hue that reminded Harry uncomfortably of the night Voldemort had returned. Standing at the edge of the grounds with Tracy, he watched as the other queens departed for their respective houses, each carrying specialized communication devices Hermione had enchanted. Atmospheric magical disturbance, Tracy noted, observing the red sky. The seals are weakening faster than we anticipated. Harry nodded grimly. Then we'd better move quickly. They mounted the modified firebolt brooms that Bill Weasley had enhanced with curse-breaking detection charms. The plan was to approach Rookwood's facility from above, using the natural magical camouflage of the Highland Mountains to mask their approach. Remember, Harry said as they prepared to depart, our priority is recovering the focus stones. We avoid direct confrontation with Rookwood if possible. Tracy grinned. Spoken like someone who doesn't know his own history. When has avoid confrontation ever been your specialty? Despite the tension, Harry laughed. Fair point. Let's just try to keep the property damage to a minimum this time. Their flight took them north over increasingly rugged terrain. Below, Harry noticed disturbing signs of magical disruption, animals fleeing in unnatural patterns, vegetation withering along what must be ley lines, and occasional bursts of wild magic that manifested as small, localized storms. The natural magic is destabilizing, Tracy confirmed, noticing his observations. Rookwood's interference is having widespread effects. After an hour of flight, they approached a seemingly abandoned stone structure built into the side of a mountain, formerly a Department of Mysteries outpost, now Rookwood's base of operations. They landed at a safe distance, using omnioculars to observe the facility. Guards patrolled the perimeter, a mix of hired mercenaries and what appeared to be magically controlled constructs. Defensive wards, detection charms, and what looks like a modified caterwauling charm, Tracy catalogued. Plus those constructs, golem-type creations. Department Experimental Tech. Harry touched the pendant around his neck, feeling the connected house magics respond. Through this link, he sensed the other queens taking their positions at their respective properties, beginning the process of purifying and strengthening the ley lines. The alignment is beginning, he noted. We have a 3-hour window before Rookwood detects the magical shift. Tracy nodded, retrieving specialized equipment from her expanded pouch. Department Infiltration Kit. Should get us through the outer wards without triggering alarms. They approached cautiously, Tracy's expertise proving invaluable as she identified and neutralized detection charms one by one. Harry maintained a disillusionment charm over both of them, enhanced by his connection to the houses. The pendant warmed against his chest as each queen activated their house's ward stone in sequence, Daphne at Slytherin Lodge, Hermione at Ravenclaw Tower, Susan at Hufflepuff Haven, Luna at Lovegood Keep, Fleur at Black Manor, and Padma at Peveril Castle. With each activation, Harry felt the magic flowing through the ley lines growing stronger, clearer, pushing back against Rookwood's corruption. They reached the facility's side entrance undetected. Tracy disabled the security charms while Harry maintained vigilance, feeling increasingly confident as the house magic strengthened his own abilities. "We're in," Tracy whispered as the door clicked open. The interior was a maze of corridors and chambers, many bearing the distinctive styling of department architecture. They moved silently, following the magical pull of the focus stones that Harry could now sense through his strengthened connection. "Lower level," Harry murmured. "I can feel them." 3 floors down. They descended cautiously, avoiding patrolling guards and magical sensors. The deeper they went, the stronger Harry felt the corrupted magic Rookwood was channeling, a sickly, distorted version of the pure house energies he now carried. "Something's wrong," Tracy said suddenly, stopping at a junction. "This is too easy. The department would never design a facility with such obvious access routes." Harry frowned, extending his magical senses. She was right, there was a calculated pattern to the security, almost as if. "It's a funnel," he realized. "They're directing us exactly where they want us to go." "A trap," Tracy confirmed grimly. "But for what purpose? If Rookwood wanted to capture you, he'd have done it at Hogwarts." Harry thought quickly. "He doesn't want to capture me. He wants to study the house magic I'm carrying, especially now that it's activating through the queens." "A magical sample," Tracy nodded in understanding. "For his ritual." "Then we don't give him what he expects," Harry decided. "We need an alternative route." Tracy studied the architecture carefully. Department facilities always have maintenance shafts for the magical infrastructure. "If we can find access." It took several precious minutes, but they eventually located a hidden panel that revealed a narrow shaft running between the floors. They squeezed inside, descending through the facility's hidden workings. Through his pendant, Harry felt the house magic alignment progressing, each queen channeling their house's essence to counter Rookwood's interference. The ley lines were gradually clearing, the natural flow of magic restoring itself. They emerged into a dimly lit maintenance corridor 3 levels below ground. Harry immediately sensed the focus stones nearby, their magical signature unmistakable now that his connection to the houses had strengthened. "There," he pointed to a heavily warded door at the corridor's end. "They're inside." Tracy examined the security measures, her expression growing concerned. "These are serious containment wards. Breaking through will trigger every alarm in the facility." "Then we don't break through," Harry replied. "We use what Rookwood doesn't understand." He placed his hand against the door, focusing not on forcing the wards, but on communicating with the focus stones themselves. The master ring glowed as he channeled the house magics now flowing strongly through the aligned ley lines. "I am the Lord of the 7 houses," he whispered. "These stones are mine by right and responsibility." For a moment, nothing happened. Then, incredibly, the wards began to shimmer and fade. The focus stones inside were responding to their true master, recognizing Harry's magical signature through his connection to the houses. "Impressive," Tracy murmured as the door unlocked itself. Inside, they found a circular chamber with 5 pedestals, each holding one of the stolen focus stones, the emerald Slytherin stone, the amber Hufflepuff stone, the opal Lovegood stone, the obsidian black stone, and the silver Peveril stone. Each pulsed with corrupted energy, dark tendrils of magic connecting them to a central apparatus. "Rookwood's already begun the corruption process," Tracy noted with alarm. "He's feeding them negative energy to reverse their protective properties." Harry approached carefully. "Can we safely move them?" "Yes, but removing them will immediately alert Rookwood," Tracy warned. "We'll have minutes at most to escape." Harry touched his pendant, feeling the Queen's magic at full strength now. "The alignment is almost complete. If we can get these stones to Hogwarts in time, a slow clapping interrupted him. They spun to find Rookwood leaning against the doorframe, looking both amused and impressed. "Well done, Lord Potter," he said mockingly. "I expected you hours ago. You're becoming somewhat unpredictable in your methods." Harry and Tracy instantly moved to defensive positions, wands ready. "Your plan won't work, Rookwood," Harry stated firmly. "The Devourer can't be controlled, even with corrupted focus stones." Rookwood smiled thinly. "Control? Who said anything about control? One doesn't control a force of nature. One simply directs it. Channels it. Bargains with it." "You're insane," Tracy said flatly. "Department records are clear on what happened to the last wizard who attempted to bargain with the Devourer." "Ah, but he didn't have what I have," Rookwood countered, gesturing to strange runes carved into his exposed forearms. "Protective bindings. Ancient magic older than the founders themselves." Harry noticed Rookwood's eyes, unnaturally bright, with flecks of something moving beneath the surface. Whatever protection he thought he had, it was already changing him. "It's already got its hooks in you," Harry observed. "You're just too far gone to see it." Something flickered across Rookwood's face, momentary doubt, quickly suppressed. "Enough talk. I allowed this infiltration because I need a sample of your fully activated house magic. Now that the queens have aligned the ley lines, you're carrying exactly what I require." He raised his wand, but Harry was faster. The pendant at his chest flared with combined house magic as he cast a shield unlike any he'd created before, 7 layers of protective energy, each representing one of the houses. Rookwood's spell struck the shield and rebounded, shattering equipment around the room. His eyes widened in surprise. "Fascinating. The houses recognize you more fully than I anticipated." While Rookwood was momentarily distracted by Harry's display, Tracy moved with department-trained precision. A specialized containment device rolled across the floor, expanding into a magic disruption field that temporarily neutralized Rookwood's enhanced abilities. "Now!" Tracy shouted. Harry didn't hesitate. With a focused burst of magic, he summoned all 5 focus stones simultaneously. They tore free from their pedestals, responding to his call as their true master. The chamber's alarms blared as the stones circled Harry, gradually aligning with his magical signature, their corruption receding as they recognized him. Rookwood snarled in rage, fighting against the disruption field. "You have no idea what you're interfering with, Potter. The seals are already weakening. Without a controlled release, the Devourer will break free chaotically. Then we'll reinforce the seals," Harry countered, securing the stones in the enchanted container Tracy provided. "That's what the houses were created for. You don't have the knowledge." Rookwood shouted, his composure cracking. "Decades of research, preparations you can't possibly understand." "We have something better than your research," Tracy replied coolly. "We have the combined wisdom of 7 houses and 7 queens." The disruption field began to flicker as Rookwood channeled corrupted magic against it. Guards could be heard approaching in the corridors. "Time to go," Harry decided, activating the emergency port key enchanted in his pendant. As the transportation magic began to take hold, Rookwood made a desperate lunge, breaking through the failing disruption field. His hand closed around Harry's ankle just as the port key activated. The last thing Harry saw was Tracy's alarmed expression as she was pulled into the port key effect with them, creating a 3-way magical tug that destabilized the carefully calibrated transportation. The world dissolved into chaotic magical turbulence as the port key spun out of control, carrying 3 passengers when designed for only 1. Harry slammed into solid ground with bone-jarring force, rolling through underbrush before coming to rest against a tree trunk. Disoriented, he took stock of his surroundings: dense forest, night sky visible through the canopy, no immediate signs of civilization. "Tracy," he called, struggling to his feet. "Here," came her pained response from nearby. She limped into view, clutching her arm at an awkward angle. "Port key malfunction. Rookwood's interference disrupted the destination coordinates." Harry looked around with growing concern. Where is he? We got separated in transit, Tracy explained. The magical turbulence would have thrown us out at different points. He could be anywhere within several miles. The stones? Harry asked urgently. Tracy patted the container secured to her belt. Safe. But we need to get them to Hogwarts immediately. Harry checked his pendant, relieved to find it still functioning despite the rough landing. Through it, he could sense the house magic alignment still holding, the queens maintaining the purified ley lines. Can you tell where we are? He asked. Tracy performed a quick orientation charm. Scottish Highlands still, but at least 50 miles from Rookwood's facility. More worryingly, we're about 80 miles from Hogwarts. Harry checked his wand, intact, thankfully, and cast his Patronus. Message to Hermione Granger, portkey malfunction. We have the stones but are stranded in the Highlands. Rookwood separated from us but nearby. Send extraction. The stag bounded away, but something about its movement concerned Harry. It seemed slower than usual, the magical light dimmer. The ambient magic is distorted here, Tracy noted, observing the same phenomenon. Rookwood's interference has affected large areas around the ley lines. Which means limited magical transportation, Harry concluded grimly. We need to move. Find higher ground to send a stronger signal. They set off through the dense forest, Harry using point-me spells to maintain their direction toward Hogwarts. The night was unnaturally quiet, no animal sounds, no wind in the trees, as if the natural world was holding its breath. The corruption is spreading, Tracy observed as they passed a stream with strangely still water. The Devourer's influence leaking through the weakened seals. Harry touched his pendant, drawing comfort from the clean, pure house magic flowing through it. How long until Rookwood's ritual window? Hours, not days, Tracy replied grimly. Without the focus stones, he'll have to modify his approach, but he's nothing if not adaptable. They hiked for nearly an hour before reaching a rocky outcropping that offered a view of the surrounding terrain. In the distance, strange lights pulsed along what must be corrupted ley lines, sickly green and purple energies crawling across the landscape like infected veins. Harry tried his Patronus again from this higher position. This time, the stag formed more clearly before bounding away toward Hogwarts. Now we wait, he said, scanning the horizon for any sign of pursuit. Tracy set up basic defensive wards around their position while Harry maintained vigilance. Through his pendant, he communicated with the queens, confirming their continued alignment of the house magics. They're holding the ley lines stable, he reported. But Hermione says the corruption is accelerating across the network. Rookwood's initial work has created a self-perpetuating effect. Without the stones to anchor his ritual, he'll look for an alternative approach, Tracy warned. Possibly targeting one of the sealed chambers directly. A distant explosion drew their attention to the north, where magical energy flared briefly before subsiding. That would be Rookwood, Tracy confirmed grimly. Likely operating despite the magical instability. Dangerous, Harry noted. He must be desperate. Or confident, Tracy countered. The further the corruption spreads, the more the ambient magic aligns with the Devourer's essence. He's becoming stronger while normal magic becomes more difficult. Harry felt a chill at this assessment. Even with the focus stones recovered, they were racing against a cascade effect already in motion. A faint magical signature approached from the south, not threatening, but familiar. Someone's coming, Harry alerted Tracy, wand ready but not aggressive. A ghostly white wolf Patronus bounded into their clearing, speaking with Luna's dreamy voice, "Stay where you are. The between places are dangerous now. Buckbeak comes." Between places? Tracy questioned. Luna speak for magically unstable areas, Harry explained with fond exasperation. And Buckbeak means? A familiar screech announced the arrival of the hippogriff, swooping down from above with Hagrid and Luna on his back. "Harry!" Hagrid called as they landed. Thank Merlin we found ya. The magical disturbances are making tracking charms go haywire. Luna slipped gracefully from Buckbeak's back, her normally dreamy expression unusually focused. The pattern is fracturing. We need the stones at Hogwarts immediately. Harry helped Tracy onto Buckbeak, then handed her the container with the focus stones. Take these directly to Hermione. Tell her to start the ritual preparations immediately. Tracy frowned. You're not coming. Rookwood is nearby, Harry explained, pointing to where magical disturbances continue to flash in the distance. I need to delay whatever he's attempting. That's suicide, Harry, Tracy argued. The ambient magic is corrupted here. You'll be at a disadvantage. Harry touched his pendant meaningfully. Not as much as you'd think. The house magics are still with me. Luna studied him with her uncanny perception. You've realized something, haven't you? Harry nodded slowly. Rookwood isn't heading for Hogwarts. He's going to one of the sealed chambers, the closest one must be nearby. If he can break even one seal completely, the pressure on the others would increase exponentially, Luna finished, understanding immediately. A cascading failure. Exactly, Harry confirmed. You get the stones to Hogwarts. Start the unification ritual. I'll find Rookwood and stop whatever he's planning. Hagrid looked torn. I don't like leaving ya out here alone, Harry. He won't be alone, Luna stated simply, stepping to Harry's side. The love-good magic is particularly effective against corrupted energies. I'll stay with Harry. Despite the gravity of their situation, Harry felt a surge of gratitude for Luna's steadfast loyalty. Are you sure? The pattern requires it, she replied with absolute certainty. After brief but intense discussion, the plan was set. Tracy and Hagrid would return to Hogwarts with the focus stones, while Harry and Luna tracked Rookwood to the nearby sealed chamber. As Buckbeak took flight, Harry and Luna turned toward the ominous magical disturbances to the north. You can sense it, can't you? Luna asked as they moved through the increasingly strange forest, where vegetation had begun growing in unnatural patterns. Harry nodded. The corruption. It feels hungry. The devourer consumes magic itself, Luna explained. In ancient times, it nearly destroyed all structured magic in Britain before the founders and the other houses united to contain it. They followed a path of increasingly disturbed magic, trees twisted into impossible shapes, small animals frozen in unnatural positions, the very air shimmering with corrupted energy. There, Harry pointed to a rocky hillside ahead where a cave opening glowed with sickly light. That must be one of the sealed chambers. They approached cautiously, using the love-good magic channeled through Luna to create a protective field around them that resisted the corruption. Outside the cave, they found clear signs of magical battle, scorch marks, shattered stones, and the bodies of two wizards in department robes. Guardians, Luna identified them. Each sealed chamber has watchers assigned to it. Harry checked for signs of life but found none. Rookwood's inside. The cave entrance led to a narrow passage that descended steeply into the earth. As they moved deeper, the corruption grew more intense, the walls themselves seemed to pulse with malevolent energy, and strange whispers echoed through the darkness. The seal is deteriorating rapidly, Luna observed, her love-good magic creating a silvery shield around them. Rookwood must have accelerated the process. They emerged into a vast underground chamber dominated by an ancient stone arch inscribed with runes that glowed with fluctuating intensity. Before it stood Rookwood, arms raised, chanting in a language that hurt Harry's ears. The arch contained not an empty space but a swirling, churning mass of darkness that seemed to reach toward Rookwood with tendrils of corrupted magic. He's breaking the containment directly, Luna whispered in alarm. Without the focus stones, he's offering himself as a conduit. Indeed, the tendrils of darkness were gradually entering Rookwood's body through the runes carved into his skin. With each passing moment, his form seemed less human, his outline blurring, his movements becoming jerky and unnatural. We need to stop him now, Harry decided. Drawing on the combined house magic flowing through his pendant, Harry stepped forward. Rookwood. This ends here. The former unspeakable turned, and Harry fought back a gasp of horror. Rookwood's eyes were completely black, his skin translucent enough to show darkness moving beneath the surface. Potter, he said, his voice layered with multiple tones speaking simultaneously. You're too late. The first seal is breaking. Soon the others will follow. You're being consumed, Harry pointed out. Whatever bargain you thought you made, you're just becoming food. A strange expression crossed Rookwood's distorted features, almost amusement. Consumption and becoming are the same process from different perspectives. I am becoming more than human. You're becoming nothing, Luna stated with uncharacteristic bluntness. The devourer leaves nothing of what it takes. Rookwood's attention shifted to Luna, his expression sharpening. A love good. You understand, don't you? The patterns beneath reality. The greater geometries. I understand that some patterns should not be broken, Luna replied, her dreamy demeanor replaced by ancient wisdom. Some doors should remain closed. Without warning, Rookwood attacked, not with a wand, but with corrupted magic that flowed directly from his transformed body. Tendrils of darkness lashed toward them like whips. Harry and Luna moved in perfect synchronization, their house magics aligned through months of preparation. Luna's love-good magic created barriers that the corruption couldn't penetrate, while Harry channeled Gryffindor and Slytherin energies into counterattacks that drove Rookwood back toward the arch. You cannot stop what has already begun. Rookwood shouted, his voice becoming less human with each word. The seals were designed to be permanent, but nothing truly is. All magic eventually fails. Not the magic of the 7 houses, Harry countered, feeling the combined power of all 7 magical signatures flowing through him as the queens maintained the alignment at their respective properties. Not when properly united. The battle intensified, corrupted magic clashing with the pure energies of the houses. The very chamber shook with the force of their conflict, stalactites crashing down around them. Through his pendant, Harry received an urgent message from Hermione, ritual preparations complete. Focus stones aligned. Awaiting final synchronization. Luna. Harry called over the magical cacophony. They're ready. We need to contain this now. Luna nodded in understanding. Together, they executed a complex series of movements they had practiced during their preparation days. The love-good magic created a pattern around Rookwood, not attacking him directly, but establishing a containment framework. Simultaneously, Harry channeled the other house magics through this framework, creating layers of containment similar to the original seals but temporary in nature. Rookwood howled in rage as he found himself gradually confined, the corruption unable to spread further through him. The darkness within him thrashed and writhed, seeking escape. You're only delaying the inevitable, he snarled, features barely human now. The devourer has tasted freedom. It will not be denied. Maybe not, Harry acknowledged, maintaining the containment with tremendous effort. But it won't be today, and it won't be through you. With a final surge of combined house magic, they completed the temporary containment around Rookwood. The corrupted energy couldn't escape, but neither could it fully take hold of him. We can't maintain this indefinitely, Luna warned, sweat beading on her forehead from the magical exertion. We don't need to, Harry replied. Just long enough for the others to complete the ritual. Through his pendant, he could feel the unification ritual beginning at Hogwarts, the focus stones activating in sequence, the queens channeling their house magics in perfect harmony. As the ritual progressed, the ley lines began to clear, corruption receding as the original protective network established by the founders reasserted itself. Rookwood sensed it too, his expression contorting with fury and desperation. No. You don't understand what you're doing. The containment was failing anyway. A controlled release was the only option. There is no controlled release of something that exists to consume, Luna stated with quiet certainty. Only containment or catastrophe. The magical energy in the chamber shifted dramatically as the unification ritual at Hogwarts reached its climax. The corrupted tendrils retreated from Rookwood's body, drawn back toward the arch as the seal began to regenerate. Rookwood screamed, a sound of both rage and relief as the corrupting influence was pulled from him. He collapsed to the ground, his body returning to human form, though aged and withered as if years had passed in moments. The arch's runes flared brilliantly, the seal reasserting itself with renewed strength. The swirling darkness beyond receded, contained once more by the unified power of the 7 houses. Harry maintained the temporary containment until he was certain the original seal had stabilized. Through his pendant, he felt the completion of the ritual at Hogwarts, all 7 focus stones now aligned properly, the Queen's magic perfectly synchronized. As the immediate danger passed, Harry approached Rookwood's crumpled form cautiously. The former unspeakable looked up with eyes that were human once more, though filled with exhaustion and defeat. "You've doomed us all to a slower death," Rookwood murmured. "The seals will fail eventually. They've been weakening for centuries." "Then we'll find a better solution," Harry replied firmly. "One that doesn't involve unleashing an uncontrollable force of destruction." "There is no better solution," Rookwood insisted weakly. "I spent decades searching." Luna knelt beside them, her expression compassionate despite everything. "Perhaps you were searching from the wrong perspective. Consumption and corruption aren't the only paths to power." Aurors arrived shortly after, alerted by Hermione once the ritual was complete and magical transportation had stabilized. Rookwood offered no resistance as they took him into custody, his purpose and power spent. As the cave was secured and department specialists arrived to reinforce the seal, Harry and Luna emerged into the pre-dawn light. The forest had begun to return to normal, corrupted magic receding as the unified house network re-established its protective influence across Britain. Through his pendant, Harry felt the Queen's satisfied exhaustion. The ritual had demanded tremendous magical exertion from all of them, but it had succeeded. The 7 houses were truly aligned for the first time in centuries, their combined power creating a stable protective network that would resist corruption for generations to come. "It's not over," Luna noted as they watched the sunrise. "The Devourer is contained, not destroyed. And there will be other threats." "I know," Harry acknowledged. "But for now, we've done what the Founders intended. The houses are united. The protection holds." Luna smiled her dreamy smile. "And the pattern is beautiful." As they made their way back to Hogwarts, Harry reflected on the extraordinary journey that had brought him here, from reluctant hero to Lord of 7 houses with 7 remarkable queens by his side. Whatever challenges the future held, they would face them together, their magic and purpose aligned. The ancient houses had chosen well. Chapter 3, Coronation. Harry ducked as a blast of crimson magic shattered the stone gargoyle behind him. Chunks of debris rained down as he rolled behind a fallen pillar, catching his breath. "Is this really necessary?" he shouted across the great hall. "Completely necessary," Tracy called back, sending another precision hex that forced him to conjure a hasty shield. "The coronation's in 3 days. If you can't handle 7 trained witches working in concert, you're not ready." The training session had started innocently enough, a simple demonstration of coordinated magical tactics. 2 hours later, Hogwarts' Great Hall looked like a war zone, and Harry was fighting for his magical life against his 7 queens. Hermione and Padma maintained a complex ward structure that limited his magical options. Daphne and Susan executed perfectly timed attack sequences that kept him constantly moving. Luna created disorienting illusions that made the floor seem to shift beneath his feet. Fleur's partial Vela transformation added fireballs to the mix. And Tracy, combat specialist that she was, exploited every opening the others created. Harry had never fought better in his life, and he was still losing. A month had passed since they'd contained the Devourer and arrested Rookwood. The emergency unification ritual had stabilized the seals, but the 7 houses remained in a precarious state of partial alignment. Only a formal coronation ceremony, publicly acknowledging the Lord and his 7 queens, would permanently establish the protective network the founders had intended. Which was why Tracy insisted on these brutal training sessions. "They're coming for you from the right," shouted Neville from the observation platform. Harry's friend had returned from his herbology expedition in the Amazon upon hearing about the Seven Houses activation. Now he served as Harry's training partner and occasional voice of reason. Trusting Neville's warning, Harry spun right, casting a wide area freezing charm that temporarily slowed Daphne and Fleur's advance. He used the seconds this bought to transfigure the floor beneath Hermione and Padma, disrupting their concentration and weakening the ward structure. "Better." Tracy approved, even as she sent a stinging hex that caught him on the shoulder. "Now counter." Drawing on his connection to all 7 houses, Harry channeled their combined magic through his master ring. The stone floor beneath him cracked as raw power surged upward. With precise control, he created 7 magical constructs: lion, snake, eagle, badger, raven, wolf, and stag, each racing toward one of the queens. "Time," called McGonagall from the entrance. The constructs dissolved as everyone lowered their wands, breathing hard. The headmistress surveyed the destruction with resigned disapproval. "I see the light practice session has once again remodeled my great hall." "Sorry, Professor," Harry grinned, not looking remotely sorry. "We got carried away." "As usual," McGonagall sighed. "The minister has arrived for your meeting, Lord Potter. And might I suggest cleaning yourselves up before greeting him?" Harry looked down at his torn, dust-covered robes, then at his equally disheveled queens. With synchronized movements, they all cast cleaning charms on themselves and each other, magic flowing together in practiced harmony. McGonagall shook her head. "It's still disconcerting to watch you all move like that, like one entity with 8 bodies." "Side effect of the house alignment," Hermione explained, adjusting her now pristine robes. "The magic flows between us more naturally now." "Fascinating as that may be, the minister awaits." McGonagall waved her wand, and the hall began repairing itself. "Try not to destroy anything else today." Kingsley Shacklebolt looked up as Harry and the 7 queens entered the headmistress's office. Despite the tensions of recent weeks, the minister smiled genuinely. "Lord Potter, ladies," he greeted them. "I appreciate you making time for this discussion before the coronation." "Minister," Harry acknowledged, taking the offered seat. The queens arranged themselves in what had become their natural formation, Hermione and Daphne flanking Harry, the others creating a semicircle that somehow managed to look both protective and diplomatic. "I'll be direct," Kingsley began. "The International Confederation is demanding oversight of the coronation ceremony. They're concerned about the concentration of power the 7 houses represent." "They're afraid," Daphne corrected coolly. "The house magic threatens the international political balance established after Grindelwald's defeat." Kingsley nodded reluctantly. "Essentially. The American Magical Congress has been particularly vocal. Their ambassador used the phrase, magical superpower, 3 times in our last meeting." "We're not interested in power plays," Harry stated firmly. "The houses were united for protection, not domination." "I understand that," Kingsley assured him. "But 7 Wisengamot votes, control of Britain's primary ley line network, and magical authority that predates the ministry itself, you can see why some might be concerned." Fleur leaned forward, her diplomatic experience with Gringotts evident in her precise tone. "Perhaps we should invite official observers from the major magical governments. Transparency will address many concerns. And demonstrate we have nothing to hide," Padma added thoughtfully. Kingsley looked relieved. "That would help considerably. There's also the matter of Rookwood's trial. The Department of Mysteries is attempting to classify all evidence and proceedings." "Typical," Tracy muttered. "The department hates admitting their mistakes." "Rookwood was theirs," Susan agreed, her family's DMLE connections informing her perspective. "His actions expose decades of questionable department research into the sealed chambers." Harry considered this complication. "We need some of that information public to explain the necessity of the 7 houses activation." But complete transparency about the sealed entities could create panic. A controlled release of information, Hermione suggested. Enough to justify our actions without detailing exactly what's contained in those seals. I can work with that approach, Kingsley agreed. Now, about the ceremony itself, a silver Patronus, a fox, bounded into the room, speaking with Aurora Sinistra's voice. Sensor alarms triggered at Slytherin Lodge. Magical barrier breach in progress. Harry was on his feet instantly. Another attack? Impossible, Tracy responded, already moving toward the door. The wards were completely rebuilt after Rookwood's infiltration. Unless it's not an outside attack, Daphne realized, her ring pulsing in response to the Slytherin property's distress. Someone with blood access. They exchanged grim looks. The political maneuvering of the past month had been intense, with ancient families scrambling to position themselves in the new power structure. Some were less than pleased with the house's choices of queens. "Minister, we need to cut this short," Harry apologized. Kingsley nodded in understanding. "Go. I'll coordinate with DMLE if you need backup." The 7 queens moved with Harry in perfect synchronization, their shared magical connection eliminating the need for verbal coordination. Within minutes, they'd reached the castle boundaries where apparition was possible. Daphne took Harry's hand, concentrating on the Slytherin Lodge coordinates. "As Slytherin's queen, I can bring you directly through the blood wards." The others would follow to specific arrival points around the property, executing the containment protocol they'd developed after Rookwood's attacks. They'd learned the hard way not to approach threats as a single group. Slytherin Lodge materialized around them, the imposing stone mansion built into the Scottish mountainside. Immediately, Harry sensed the magical disturbance, a sickly pulse emanating from the eastern wing. The artifact vault, Daphne identified, drawing her wand. Someone's trying to breach the inner sanctum. They moved swiftly through the mansion's shadowy corridors, Harry reaching through his magical connection to coordinate with the others as they apparat to their positions. Hermione and Luna securing the perimeter. Susan and Padma at secondary entrances. Fleur and Tracy moving to cut off potential escape routes. The silent communication flowed effortlessly between them, another benefit of their strengthening magical alignment. As they approached the vault, Harry detected a familiar magical signature that made his blood run cold. "Umbridge," he whispered to Daphne. "She's somehow gained access." Daphne's expression hardened. "Impossible unless she's working with someone with Slytherin blood connections." They rounded the final corner to find the vault door open, its intricate snake-shaped lock disabled. Inside stood Dolores Umbridge beside a tall, aristocratic wizard Harry recognized as Cyrus Greengrass, Daphne's father. "Father?" Daphne's shock quickly transformed to cold fury. "What have you done?" Cyrus Greengrass turned, his expression a mixture of regret and determination. "What's necessary for our family's true legacy, daughter?" Umbridge smiled her sickly sweet smile, a small obsidian box clutched in her pudgy hands. "Lord Potter. How unfortunate you arrived so quickly. We'd hoped to be gone before the alarms could summon you." Harry's wand was trained steadily on the pair, his magic ready to strike. "Put it down, Umbridge. Whatever Greengrass promised you, it's not worth what will happen if you proceed. You presume to threaten a senior ministry official." Umbridge's girlish voice contrasted sharply with the dangerous magic swirling around the box she held. "You may have claimed these houses, but you know nothing of their true power or purpose." "Father," Daphne's voice cut like ice, "explain yourself immediately." Cyrus straightened, meeting his daughter's gaze with equal coldness. The Slytherin legacy was never meant for half-bloods and their collections of convenient witches. For generations, the Greengrass family has preserved the true knowledge of Salazar's intentions. By helping Umbridge steal Slytherin artifacts. Harry questioned, keeping his focus on the box that radiated corrupted magic similar to what they'd encountered in the sealed chamber. "Not stealing, reclaiming," Cyrus corrected. "That box contains Salazar's contingency against precisely this situation, unworthy blood claiming his house's power. Harry felt the others moving into position throughout the lodge, closing the net around the intruders. Through his connection to Daphne, he sensed her emotional turmoil beneath her composed exterior, the betrayal cutting deeper than she would ever show. The asp's tongue, Daphne identified the box. A corruption device designed to undermine house magic alignment. Her eyes narrowed at her father. You'd risk destabilizing the seals. After what happened with Rookwood. Controlled destabilization, Cyrus countered. Enough to force a reorganization of the houses under proper authority. Your authority, you mean, Harry stated flatly. Umbridge's smile widened. The Wizengamot has concerns about the concentration of power in untested hands, Lord Potter. We're merely providing a constitutional alternative. Harry sensed Tracy and Fleur moving into striking position behind the intruders. Susan and Padma had secured all exits. Hermione and Luna were containing the lodge's ambient magic to prevent any large-scale spells from affecting the surrounding area. Last chance, Harry offered calmly. Surrender the artifact and face Ministry justice, or face house justice here and now. Cyrus scoffed. You don't even know what house justice entails. You're playing with powers beyond your comprehension. Perhaps, Harry acknowledged. But I do know this. Slytherin house magic has recognized your daughter as its true queen. He looked directly at Daphne. Show him. Daphne stepped forward, her Slytherin ring glowing with emerald light. With perfect magical control, she extended her hand toward the vault's central pedestal, a stone serpent with empty eyes. I, Daphne Greengrass, Queen of Slytherin House, call upon the Sentinel. The stone serpent's eyes flared with green fire. Throughout the vault, similar serpentine decorations animated, their stone heads turning toward Cyrus and Umbridge with predatory focus. Cyrus paled. The Sentinel responds to you? That's impossible unless the house magic truly accepted me, Daphne finished coldly. Not by blood alone, father, but by magical alignment and purpose. Umbridge, sensing the shift in power, made a desperate move. She flipped open the obsidian box, revealing a small silver device shaped like a serpent's tongue. Enough of this farce, she spat, all pretense of sweetness gone. The houses will be brought under proper ministry control. She activated the artifact, which began emitting pulses of corrupted magic designed to disrupt the house alignment. Harry felt the Slytherin magic within him waver momentarily. But only momentarily. With synchronized precision, all 7 queens activated their house rings simultaneously. Throughout the lodge, their combined magic created a stabilizing field that neutralized the artifact's corruption. The silver tongue sputtered and went dark in Umbridge's hand. Impossible, she shrieked. The artifact is infallible. Against a partial alignment, perhaps, Harry explained calmly. But not against all 7 houses working in harmony. Tracy and Fleur made their move, disarming Umbridge and Cyrus from behind with practiced efficiency. The box was secured, the threat contained. As Susan and Padma led the prisoners away, Harry noticed Daphne standing alone by the vault's entrance, her composed expression firmly in place though her eyes betrayed her pain. I'm sorry about your father, he said quietly, joining her. Don't be, she replied with practiced detachment. He made his choice long ago. The Greengrass family has been working to reclaim Slytherin House for generations, even if it meant undermining the founder's true purpose. Harry placed his hand gently on her shoulder. His actions don't diminish yours. The house chose correctly. For a brief moment, Daphne's mask slipped, revealing genuine vulnerability. Thank you, Harry. Then, composure returning, she straightened. We should secure the other artifacts. If Father knew about the asp's tongue, he may have shared information about other dangerous items. As they worked to inventory the vault's contents, Harry marveled at Daphne's resilience. Each of his queens had faced personal challenges since accepting their roles, family disapproval, public scrutiny, political opposition, yet none had wavered in their commitment. The house magic had chosen well indeed. The following evening found them gathered in the Chamber of Seven at Hogwarts, a previously unknown room that had revealed itself once all 7 houses had been claimed. Located deep beneath the castle at the convergence point of all major ley lines, the circular chamber contained 7 alcoves representing each house, surrounding a central dais where the final coronation ritual would take place. Umbridge is being held pending trial, Susan reported, having just returned from the ministry. Father is cooperating, providing names of others involved in the conspiracy. A conspiracy larger than we initially thought, Hermione added grimly, reviewing intelligence reports. At least 3 department heads and a dozen Wizengamot members were involved in plans to disrupt the coronation. Not surprising, Daphne noted coolly. We're disrupting a power structure that's remained largely unchanged for centuries. Harry studied the detailed security plans for the upcoming ceremony. Can we be certain there aren't more artifacts like the asp's tongue out there? Other methods to disrupt the house magic? Unlikely, Luna responded, her dreamy tone belying the precision of her analysis. The founders were thorough in containing dangerous countermeasures within the houses themselves. External threats would be crude by comparison. Padma nodded in agreement. Our research supports that. The real vulnerability is during the coronation itself, the moment when all 7 house magics fully merge and stabilize. That's when we'll be most exposed. The coronation had grown from a simple magical ceremony into a major international event. Representatives from every magical government would attend, along with the press and hundreds of influential magical families. The political implications were impossible to ignore, despite Harry's insistence that the houses weren't seeking governmental power. Security arrangements are finalized, Tracy confirmed. 3 layers of protection, outer perimeter managed by DMLE, inner sanctum secured by Hogwarts staff, and the chamber itself protected by house magic. And what of Rookwood's warning? Fleur asked the question they'd all been considering privately. That the seals were already failing before his interference. A somber silence fell over the group. Their victory over Rookwood had secured immediate safety, but his core assertion, that the ancient seals containing the Devourer and similar entities were deteriorating, had proven true upon investigation. The Department of Mysteries confirmed it, Harry acknowledged. The seals have been weakening for centuries. Our alignment has stabilized them, but not permanently. Which is precisely why the coronation must proceed, Hermione stated firmly. A complete, formal alignment of all 7 houses will create the strongest possible magical framework. And buy us time to find a more permanent solution, Padma added. Harry looked around at these 7 extraordinary witches who had, in just over a month, become the center of his world. Each brought unique strengths, perspectives, and magic to their alliance. Together, they had already accomplished what many considered impossible, uniting the 7 houses for the first time in centuries. One step at a time, he decided. We secure the coronation, formalize our positions, then address the long-term challenges. The others nodded in agreement, their shared purpose reinforcing their magical bond. As they concluded their meeting, Tracy pulled Harry aside. There's something you should see in the Gryffindor vault. Something relevant to tomorrow's preparations. Curious, Harry followed her to the newly accessible Gryffindor chambers within Hogwarts. Unlike the imposing grandeur of Slytherin Lodge or the scholarly atmosphere of Ravenclaw Tower, the Gryffindor spaces were warm and functional, designed for practicality rather than ostentation. Tracy led him to a simple wooden chest bearing the Gryffindor crest. This appeared yesterday. According to Godric's journal, it materializes only when a true Lord of Gryffindor is about to be formally confirmed. Harry approached the chest cautiously, his Gryffindor ring warming in response. When he placed his hand on the lid, it opened without resistance, revealing 7 golden circlets nestled in crimson velvet. The crowns of virtue, Tracy explained with unusual reverence. Created by Godric himself for the coronation of a Lord of 7 houses, a possibility he foresaw but never witnessed. Harry carefully lifted one of the circlets. Despite its solid appearance, it felt almost weightless in his hands, thrumming with ancient magic. They're attuned to house magic, Tracy continued. Each designed to amplify a specific aspect of leadership that Godric valued. Courage, justice, wisdom, loyalty, vision, diplomacy, and sacrifice. Harry examined the crowns with growing understanding. Not just symbols, but magical focuses. Exactly. They'll enhance the coronation ritual's effectiveness and help stabilize the magical alignment. Tracy's expression grew serious. Godric believed that true leadership required balance between all these qualities. No single person could embody them all perfectly, which is why the houses need both Lord and Queens, Harry finished. Different aspects of the same unified purpose. He replaced the crown carefully. Thank you for showing me this. Tracy nodded, her usually practical demeanor softening slightly. You should know, the Gryffindor journals suggest Godric believed the 7 houses would only unite when facing an existential threat to magic itself. The fact that we're here, now, preparing for this coronation, means we're likely facing something worse than we realize, Harry concluded grimly. Possibly. But it also means the houses believe we're the right people to face it. Tracy's confidence was unshakable. They chose us for a reason, Harry. As they secured the chest for transport to the Chamber of 7, Harry felt both the weight of responsibility and the strength of purpose that had defined his life since claiming the lordships. Whatever challenges awaited, he wouldn't face them alone. Dawn broke over Hogwarts on Coronation Day with unusual brilliance, the sky displaying shimmering auroras despite the early hour. The castle hummed with magical energy as ley lines beneath it responded to the impending ceremony. Harry stood at the window of the Lord's chamber, another space that had revealed itself once all 7 houses were claimed. The magical world's most influential figures were already arriving, filling the great hall and grounds with a colorful array of formal robes and international magical regalia. Nervous, came Hermione's voice from the doorway. Harry turned to find her already dressed in formal robes of Ravenclaw blue, her consort ring gleaming on her finger. Concerned, he corrected with a small smile. Big targets make for tempting shots. Every possible security measure is in place, she assured him, joining him at the window. And the house magic is stronger than ever. You can feel it, can't you? He nodded, because he could. The 7 magical signatures had begun harmonizing more smoothly within him, no longer separate forces but aspects of a unified whole. It's not the ceremony itself that concerns me, he admitted. It's what comes after. Expectations. Politics. The sealed entities Rookwood warned about. Hermione studied him with the perceptive gaze that had seen through his concern since they were 11. You're worried we won't be able to maintain unity once the immediate threat has passed. As usual, she'd identified the fear he hadn't fully articulated even to himself. The houses chose us during crisis, he acknowledged. But governing in peacetime is different. Perhaps, Hermione conceded, but the houses didn't choose us for a single purpose. They chose us for who we are, individually and together. She took his hand, her Ravenclaw ring harmonizing with his. We balance each other, Harry. That's the whole point. Before he could respond, the others began arriving, Susan and Padma discussing last-minute security arrangements, Luna humming softly as she adjusted her uniquely styled robes, Fleur reviewing diplomatic protocols with Daphne, and Tracy carrying the chest containing the crowns of virtue. Looking at them gathered together, these extraordinary witches who had accepted ancient magic and modern challenges with equal determination, Harry felt his concerns giving way to conviction. It's time, Tracy announced. The guests are seated. The chamber is prepared. Harry nodded, straightening his formal robes. Then let's not keep destiny waiting. The Chamber of 7 had been transformed for the coronation. Ancient magic illuminated the vast circular space with a warm, golden light that seemed to emanate from the very stones. The 7 alcoves glowed with their respective house colors, Gryffindor red, Slytherin green, Ravenclaw blue, Hufflepuff yellow, Black obsidian, Peveril silver, and Lovegood opal. In the center, the ritual dais had been prepared with 7 focus stones arranged in a perfect heptagram, each positioned to align with its corresponding house magic. Hundreds of witnesses filled the tiered seating surrounding the chamber, ministry officials, international representatives, ancient family heads, and allies who had supported them during the past month's challenges. Kingsley stood ready to serve as ritual officiant, while McGonagall represented Hogwarts itself. Harry and his queens entered in formal procession, walking the outer circle of the chamber before taking positions at their respective house alcoves. The ambient magic responded immediately, house colors flaring brightly as their rightful lords and ladies approached. Kingsley stepped forward, his deep voice carrying effortlessly through the chamber. "We gather today to witness the formal coronation of the Lord and Queens of the 7 houses, a magical alignment foretold by the founders and awaited for centuries." He gestured to the focus stones. "These ancient artifacts, created from the very essence of house magic, will today form a permanent bond between the houses and their chosen representatives." Harry stepped onto the central dais first, the master ring gleaming on his finger. One by one, the queens joined him, forming a perfect circle around the heptagram of focus stones. The formal ritual began with declarations of intent and purpose from each participant. As they spoke, their house magics manifested visibly, swirling auras of color and power that gradually began to harmonize and interweave. "The crowns," Kingsley instructed. Tracy opened the chest, revealing the 7 golden circlets. Harry took the first, the crown of courage, and approached Tracy. As Lord of Gryffindor House, he declared, "I recognize you, Tracy Davis, as its true queen. May your courage guide our path forward." He placed the crown gently on her head, where it adjusted itself perfectly before glowing with ruby light. The Gryffindor focus stone responded, rising slightly from the dais and pulsing in resonance with Tracy's magic. One by one, Harry crowned each queen with the circlet representing their house's primary virtue: justice for Susan, wisdom for Hermione, loyalty for Luna, vision for Padma, diplomacy for Fleur, and sacrifice for Daphne. As each crown settled, its corresponding focus stone activated, creating lines of pure magical energy that connected to form the heptagram pattern. The chamber filled with a harmonious magical resonance that made even the most stoic witnesses gasp in wonder. Finally, Kingsley presented the 7th crown to the queens collectively. The crown of leadership, he identified it. To be bestowed upon the Lord of 7 by those who stand with him in purpose and power. Together, the 7 queens placed the final crown upon Harry's head. The moment it touched him, all 7 focus stones flared brilliantly, and the heptagram pattern completed itself with a surge of magical energy that spread outward from the dais. Throughout Britain, ley lines pulsed with renewed power. At each house property, ward stones activated simultaneously. At the 7 sealed chambers containing ancient threats, protective magic reinforced itself tenfold. The coronation ritual was reaching its climax, the magical resonance building toward permanent alignment, when a distant rumble shook the chamber. Harry maintained his concentration on the ritual, even as his combat instincts screamed warning. Through their connection, he sensed Tracy and Susan doing the same, monitoring the disturbance while keeping the ritual stable. "Continue," Kingsley instructed calmly, though his eyes had darted to the chamber entrance where Aurors were receiving urgent communications. The magical alignment proceeded, the 7 houses' energies weaving together in increasingly complex patterns. Harry could feel the connection strengthening, becoming more permanent with each passing moment. Another tremor, stronger this time, sending dust cascading from the chamber ceiling. Several guests looked up in alarm. "Maintain focus," Harry murmured to his queens. "We're almost there." The final phase began, each focus stone rising higher above the dais, their energies coalescing into a brilliant central orb of pure, harmonized magic. This was the moment of greatest vulnerability, when all 7 house magics were fully exposed during their unification. A deafening explosion rocked the castle above them. This time, even Kingsley looked shaken. "Something's attacking Hogwarts," Tracy reported tersely, maintaining her position despite the obvious temptation to investigate. Harry reached through their connected magic, extending his awareness beyond the chamber. What he sensed made his blood run cold, a massive surge of corrupted energy, similar to the Devourer's essence but distinct. Something else had awakened. Rookwood was right, he realized aloud. The seals were already failing. Our efforts to contain the Devourer put pressure on the others. We finished the ritual, Daphne stated firmly. It's our only chance against whatever's coming. The others nodded in agreement, redoubling their focus despite the chaos clearly unfolding above. The central magical orb began pulsing in a steady rhythm, sending waves of protective energy outward. Harry channeled all 7 house magics through his master ring, directing the unified power toward completion. The crowns amplified their natural abilities, allowing for greater precision and control than they'd ever achieved before. With a final, brilliant surge, the ritual reached completion. The orb exploded into 7 streams of pure magic that arced outward before returning to the focus stones. The heptagram pattern flared one last time, then sank into the dais itself, becoming a permanent part of Hogwarts' magical foundation. The alignment was complete. The 7 houses were truly unified. Not a moment too soon. The chamber doors burst open as Neville Longbottom rushed in, his face streaked with dust and blood. Harry! Something's broken through from the Forbidden Forest. Some kind of. I don't even know how to describe it. Harry exchanged quick glances with his queens. Though exhausted from the ritual, they all nodded in silent agreement. Evacuate the guests through the secure passages, he ordered Kingsley. We'll handle whatever's breached the grounds. You just completed an exhausting magical ritual, McGonagall protested. You can't possibly. We can, Hermione interrupted with quiet confidence. The coronation didn't just formalize our positions. It completed our magical connection. Indeed, Harry could feel the difference immediately. The 7 house magics no longer simply coexisted within him, they had merged into a cohesive whole, accessible with unprecedented ease and precision. The queens experienced the same enhancement, their individual magical signatures now permanently harmonized with his and each other's. Lead the evacuation, Harry repeated to Kingsley. We'll buy you time. Without waiting for further discussion, Harry and the 7 queens raced through the castle toward the source of the disturbance. The damage became increasingly severe as they approached the main entrance, shattered windows, cracked walls, suits of armor crushed beyond magical repair. They emerged onto the grounds to face a scene of nightmarish chaos. A swirling vortex of corrupted magic had formed at the edge of the Forbidden Forest, from which emerged creatures of impossible geometry, things with too many limbs, eyes in wrong places, forms that seemed to shift between states of matter. Another sealed entity, Padma identified grimly. Not the Devourer but something equally ancient. The distortion, Luna named it, her dreamy expression replaced by ancient knowledge. It warps reality rather than consuming it. The creatures were engaging Hogwarts' magical defenses, animated statues, enchanted barriers, and staff members maintaining shield charms. But the defenses were failing against this otherworldly assault. Formation 7, Harry commanded, drawing his wand. Without hesitation, the queens moved into position, a magical configuration they'd practiced extensively during their training sessions. Each took a position corresponding to their house's place in the heptagram, with Harry at the center. On my mark, he called, gathering the unified house magic within him. Channel through your crowns. The golden circlets they still wore from the coronation glowed with renewed purpose as each queen focused their specific virtue into the group's magic. Now, 7 streams of purified magic converged on Harry, who directed the combined power outward toward the reality-warping vortex. The unified magic struck the corruption with explosive force, temporarily halting its expansion. The creatures already manifested screeched in alien voices, turning their attention toward this new threat. They moved with unnatural speed, converging on the 7 queens formation. Hold position. Harry ordered, maintaining the magical counterpressure against the vortex. Each queen faced the approaching abominations with the specific strengths of their house magic. Tracy's Gryffindor-enhanced combat spells tore through creatures despite their warped physics. Susan's Hufflepuff-powered containment charms isolated individual threats. Hermione's Ravenclaw analysis identified vulnerabilities in their impossible anatomies. Luna's love-good perceptions let her anticipate their non-Euclidean movements. Padma's Peveril magic disrupted their connection to their source. Fleur's black family banishment spells forced them back toward the vortex. Daphne's Slytherin precision targeted the magical corruption sustaining them. Despite their enhanced abilities, they were fighting a defensive battle against overwhelming numbers. For every creature banished or destroyed, 2 more emerged from the expanding vortex. "We need to close the breach," Harry called over the magical cacophony. "Not just contain it. The focus stones," Hermione shouted back, deflecting a creature's attack. "If we bring them here, we can create a localized version of the sealing ritual." "I'll get them," Tracy volunteered, her combat experience making her the logical choice to break formation. "No," Harry countermanded. "Maintain the defensive line. I'll summon them." Closing his eyes briefly, Harry reached through his connection to Hogwarts itself, calling upon the focus stones now embedded in the Chamber of Seven. It should have been impossible to move them after the coronation ritual, but the unified house magic responded to its true lord's need. Deep below, the 7 stones detached from the dais and vanished, reappearing in a perfect circle around Harry and his queens. "New formation," he called. "Outward-facing circle. Channel through your stones." They shifted positions smoothly, each queen moving to stand beside their respective focus stone. The creatures pressed their attack, sensing the threat this new configuration posed to their breach. Luna cried out as a particularly massive abomination broke through their defenses, its warped limbs lashing toward her. Before it could reach her, Harry was there, drawing on Gryffindor's courage and Slytherin's precision to sever its connection to the corrupting magic. "Focus on the vortex itself," he ordered, returning to position. "Target the breach, not the symptoms." 7 streams of house magic converged again, this time flowing through the focus stones before striking the vortex with pinpoint accuracy. The corruption responded violently, the vortex contracting and expanding erratically. "It's destabilizing," Padma observed. "The breach is becoming unsustainable." "One final push," Harry decided. "Everything we have." Drawing on reserves of magical energy they shouldn't have possessed after the coronation ritual, all 8 channeled their combined power into a single, concentrated beam of pure house magic. The unified energy struck the heart of the vortex, creating a cascading reaction that collapsed the dimensional breach inward upon itself. The manifested creatures shrieked as their connection to their realm was severed, their impossible forms dissolving into wisps of corrupted magic that the house energy quickly purified and dispersed. With a final, reality-bending implosion, the vortex collapsed completely. The magical pressure released in a shockwave that knocked them all off their feet despite their protective shields. Silence fell over the devastated grounds. Harry pulled himself up, quickly checking on each of his queens. They were exhausted but largely unharmed, the house magic had protected them from the worst of the backlash. "Is it over?" Susan asked, helping Padma to her feet. Luna gazed at the now empty space where the vortex had been. "This breach is closed. The distortion is contained once more." "But Rookwood was right," Hermione added grimly. "The seals are failing sequentially. Our efforts to contain one entity put pressure on the others." Harry surveyed the damage to Hogwarts grounds, the scorched earth, shattered stonework, and lingering traces of corrupted magic. This had been just one breach, managed only because they happened to be at full magical strength following the coronation. "Then we have work to do," he stated, determination replacing exhaustion. "This is why the house is unified now, after centuries of separation. The ancient threats are awakening, and we're the last line of defense." The focus stones, having served their immediate purpose, vanished, returning to the Chamber of Seven where they would continue strengthening the protective network across Britain. As ministry officials and Hogwarts staff cautiously approached, Harry gazed at his 7 queens, each still wearing their crown of virtue, each representing an essential aspect of the leadership they would now provide together. The coronation had completed their magical transformation, but their true work was just beginning. 1 month later, Harry stood on the astronomy tower, watching the sunset over Hogwarts' fully repaired grounds. The school had reopened following extensive magical restoration, though signs of the battle remained in subtly altered stonework and newly planted areas of the lawn. "Contemplating our next move?" Daphne asked, joining him at the railing. Harry smiled slightly. "Reviewing what we've accomplished so far." And they had accomplished much since the coronation and subsequent battle. The ministry had formally recognized the 7 houses as a semi-autonomous magical authority, with specific jurisdiction over ley line management and ancient magical threats. International agreements had been signed, acknowledging their protective role while establishing boundaries for their political influence. Most importantly, they had begun the painstaking work of reinforcing all 7 major seals containing entities like the Devourer and the Distortion. Using their enhanced understanding of house magic, they'd created new protective frameworks that worked with rather than against the founders' original designs. The American delegation finally departed, Daphne reported. "After extracting promises that we won't extend our ley line management beyond British territories." "As if we wanted more work," Harry commented dryly. "Hermione and Padma have made a breakthrough with the Ravenclaw archives," she continued. "They believe the founders left instructions for a more permanent solution to the sealed entities. Something beyond continuous containment." Harry raised an eyebrow. "That would be welcome news. Susan estimates we're spending 60% of our magical resources just maintaining the current seals. Which is precisely why we need all 7 houses working in concert," Daphne noted. "No single magical tradition could manage this burden alone." They fell into comfortable silence, watching as stars began appearing in the darkening sky. After a moment, Daphne spoke again, her voice uncharacteristically hesitant. "Do you ever wonder if the houses chose correctly? If we're truly the right people for this responsibility?" Harry considered the question seriously. "I think the fact that we asked that question is precisely why we were chosen. Power without doubt becomes tyranny." Daphne smiled slightly. "Spoken like a true lord of 7 houses." "I had excellent teachers," Harry replied, thinking of all he'd learned from each queen over these extraordinary months. From Daphne, political strategy and the long view. From Hermione, analytical thoroughness and principled determination. From Susan, justice tempered with compassion. From Luna, perception beyond the obvious and acceptance of the inexplicable. From Fleur, diplomatic finesse and cultural perspective. From Padma, scholarly patience and Eastern magical traditions. From Tracy, practical combat sense and organizational discipline. Together, they created something greater than any could have achieved alone, exactly as the founders had intended. Voices and laughter drifted up from below, where the other queens were gathering in the courtyard. Even from this distance, Harry could feel their magical signatures. The connection between them all had strengthened to the point where they were always peripherally aware of each other's presence and well-being. "We should join them," Daphne suggested. Fleur's arranged a private dinner to celebrate 1 month since the coronation. Harry nodded, taking a final moment to appreciate the peaceful evening, a peace they had fought to preserve and would continue protecting, whatever challenges arose. As Lord of 7 houses, he carried tremendous responsibility. But he also carried the support, wisdom, and magic of 7 extraordinary queens who had chosen to stand with him against the darkness. Ancient houses, modern challenges, and a future they would shape together. The coronation had been just the beginning. The end. Thank you for watching this video. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel and like this video.